His uneven color.
Last Thursday night, a nightmare for the Minnesota Vikings. At home in the Metrodome, nothing went right. While San Francisco scored 3 touchdowns in a minute 44, Minnesota made mistake after mistake. Coach Bud Grant said all we can do now is go into obscurity until we surface again. Tommy Kramer, despite being one of the NFC's top-rated passers, 3 interceptions against the 49ers, but Kramer did manage this touchdown toss to Terry LeCount to end the third quarter. For the Vikings, their double threat. Running back and receiver Ted Brown. He leads the Vikings in rushing and receiving. At number 20, the scat back out of Stanford, Darren Nelson. Back healthy now after an injury-riddled rookie season. Nelson averaging 6.5 yards per carry for the Vikings. Head coach John McKay of Tampa Bay is confused. His Bucs 4-0 in the preseason, but 0-2 now that the games count. They've scored only 10 points in losses to the Lions and the Bears, but the defense still doing the job, led by Leroy Selman and Dave Logan. Offensively, passing has been the problem. Jerry Goldstein's been ineffective. This interception against Chicago turned out to be the difference. Jack Thompson, the throwing Samoan, starts. It's a big NFC Central battle. The Bucs and the Vikings next on CBS.
CBS Sports presents today the Minnesota Vikings against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Live from Tampa Stadium in Tampa, Florida, that big NFC Central Division battle, the Buccaneers and the Vikings. Tampa Stadium, also the home of Super Bowl 18, which you can see right here on CBS. Our game time weather conditions, 88 degrees at game time. Slight chance of rain. It is hot, it is humid, and certainly the conditioning of the two teams could very much be a factor before this one is through. Hello again, everybody. I'm Jim Kelly, former New York Jet. John Dockery alongside. He wears a Super Bowl ring and will provide his own special brand of expertise. Tampa Bay, of course, 0-2 after a perfect preseason. The Vikings are 1-1, coming in after one of their most humiliating losses to San Francisco, and they've had 10 days, John, to think about it.
Jim, 10 days is a long time for any team to dwell on a terrible loss like that. They're edgy, they're impatient, they're anxious to get in the win column, the Vikings are. But what amazed me, Jim, is that they are loose and they are confident. They are ready to atone.
And as far as Tampa Bay is concerned, they have decided to switch quarterbacks after putting only 10 points on the board in their first 2 games.
Of course, quarterback is a pivotal position. I don't have to tell you, Jim. I don't have to tell you folks. Here in Tampa Bay, disruption at the quarterback position. Doug Williams, your quarterback of 5 seasons, leaves, goes to the new league. Jerry Goldstein becomes the quarterback. You lose 2 games, you can't find an offense. So John McKay, looking for some firepower, has now turned to Jack Thompson. He told me he's a more fiery competitor. He has more talent. He thinks he can get Tampa Bay into the end zone. Jim, they're just about ready, so let's kick it off.
You're looking at Benny Ricardo, number 1, who will kick it off for the Minnesota Vikings. Michael Morton,
his counterpart, also wears number 1, and he is back deep to receive for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, along with number 26, James Owens. And this football game is underway live from Tampa Bay. That is Michael Morton. Got some running room. Chopped down at the 29-yard line. 1st and 10, Tampa Bay. And you take a look at that offensive unit that comes out now, headed up by the throwing Samoan, Jack Thompson. He replaces Jerry Goldstein. It is his first start for Tampa Bay. His previous first start for the Cincinnati Bengals. And, of course, they gave up a high draft pick, Tampa Bay did, to get Jack Thompson. It is Gerald Carter wide to the left side, Kevin House to the near side. Backs are split, and Jack Thompson will throw on 1st down. Behind the intended receiver, James Owens.
Terrible throw, possibly nervous. Jack Thompson in a tough spot. This is a big game for him. This is the reason he left Cincinnati. He wants to play. As you look at the offensive backs and receivers, Jack Thompson the key to this whole offense, which has only gotten into the end zone 1 time, Jim. Kevin House underutilized. Offensive line, a lot of injuries, a lot of problems, especially at center where Grimes starts for Wilson.
Grimes starts for Wilson. Yarno starts for Snell. 2nd and 10. James Owens bouncing off a couple of Vikings, gets it back to the 32-yard line. It'll bring up 3rd and long as we check in now with the Minnesota Vikings defense. Charlie Johnson anchors the 3-4 defense employed by the Minnesota Vikings. He's a good one. Came over from the Philadelphia Eagles. The linebacking core, Scott Studwell, he calls the defensive signals. Johnson, of course, what can you say about Matt Blair? All-pro, he's been around. Freddie McNeil, they excel on specialty teams as well. And the secondary of Minnesota, much improved. Pressure, incomplete. Randy Holloway, 6 years out of Pittsburgh, the man that busted through on the left side, getting through to Jack Thompson. Now you're going to get a kind of a mixed reaction from this crowd here in Tampa Bay because of the quarterback controversy.
Goldstein was a favorite. Thompson getting his first start. Offensive line has been a problem. There's been a lot of injuries here. Holloway comes from the backside. Thompson never saw him, never had a chance.
Frank Garcia, the rookie who averaged almost 42 yards a kick, standing back at about his own 18-yard line. Rufus Best, number 21, awaits deep back at the Minnesota 25. Bucks fail to move the football on their first possession. It is a high end-over-end kick. Best will field at the 29. Far sideline gets it back to the 37. A 39-yard punt, a 7-yard return. Jim Obradovich in there in the tackle defensively for Tampa Bay. We've got 13:46 left to go in a scoreless first quarter. A big NFC battle between the Bucks, who are 0-2, and the Vikings, who are tied for the division lead at 1-1. Welcome back to Tampa Stadium amid a sea of orange. Today is Orange Sunday here. It's the third one in the history of the Buccaneer franchise where they encourage their fans to show support for the local football team. And we're up wearing a article of orange clothing. They gave away visors to all who are in attendance here. And the University of Florida band also here, and they are decked out in orange. 1st and 10 for the Vikings from their 36-yard line. Tommy Kramer sends the tight end Brewer in motion. He reverses. Pitch back now. That is Teddy Brown. Teddy Brown breaks it up close to a first down up near the 46-yard line. John Holt in there defensively for Tampa Bay. There's the offensive unit of the Minnesota Vikings. Ted Brown, of course, the double threat along with Darren Nelson. Terry LeCount in there at one of the wide receivers. Gone is the retired Ahmad Rashad. Sammy White, the other wide receiver. The veteran offensive line.
And Jim, you look at the tight end, you see Bob Brewer conspicuous by his absence. Joe Sensor, a couple of years ago, maybe the best tight end or close to it in the NFL, out with an injury, a knee injury.
Slot formation to the right side. Running back for Brown and Darren Nelson. Vikings picked up a first down, almost a busted play. And Ted Brown sandwiched down back at the line of scrimmage. Excellent penetration by Dave Logan, the nose tackle for the Bucks in his 5th year out of Pittsburgh. And when you think about that defensive line for Tampa Bay, you think about Dave Logan, big number 76. 12th round draft pick, believe it or not, back in '79. John Cannon on the left side. Leroy Selman, he's only all-world, number 63. And the linebacking core, you think of Hugh Green, 53, out of the University of Pittsburgh. Brantley, Davis, and Hawkins. There's the secondary, and they have been suspect in Tampa Bay's first 2 games. Slot formation to the top of your screen. As you look into the heart of the huddle now, Tommy Kramer, motion. That's Ted Brown to the far side. First down, or just shy of first down yardage. Terry LeCount.
Terry LeCount, of course, the man who was replacing Ahmad Rashad, who has gone to the broadcast booth. And watch him now as he comes off the line. He's got good speed. He's been around for 6 years, so he's not really new. Makes the catch going down low in front of number 21, John Holt, a man who has had his troubles, and other teams have gone after him.
You look at number 80, Terry LeCount for the Minnesota Vikings. He came in with 7 catches, 122 yards, averaging almost 18 yards per catch, and 1 touchdown. And, of course, at the end of the third quarter, in last Thursday night's loss to San Francisco. Tommy Kramer looks at 3rd and short, got the first down. Loose football. Teddy Brown scooped it back up. That will be a reception, and it will be a first down.
For a moment, it was reminiscent of last week, all the fumbles and problems that the Vikings had against the 49ers. Kramer said it was just a snowballing effect. Here he hits Brown out of the backfield. This is typical Minnesota Viking football. Send the backs out of the backfield. The ball is stripped. Brown is not a man that fumbles, Jim. In 1982, 8 games, no fumbles, and 120 rushes and 31 passes as Bud Grant looks like, oh my, the New England Patriots beat the New York Jets. 2 losses in a row for the Jets.
3 touchdown runs by Tony Collins. Handoff. Teddy Brown sweeps the right side, got some room, bumped out of bounds inside the 34-yard line. Andy Hawkins chased him out of bounds, 4-year linebacker out of Texas A&M.
And Jim, I'll be a little surprised to see the Minnesota Vikings try to run against the Tampa Bay defense. You're talking about a defense that is number 1 in the NFC against rushing. They've allowed just 86 yards against on the ground. They are a good defense overall, but much better against the rush.
Tampa Bay offensively in the entire NFL ranks 7th. 6th in rushing, 6th in passing, and they're going up against the NFL's #1 rushing defense, Tampa Bay. 2nd down and 7. Kramer, wide receivers left and right, backs are split, fakes the handoff to Brown, plenty of time, safety valve, Petty's got it, and slithers forward to about the 33-yard line out of North Carolina State. Ted Brown, chased down by Jeff Davis.
That's one of the things that a 3-4 defense will do for you. The mobility of the linebackers. Even though Brown caught the ball, was on a delay, those linebackers, good reaction, came up to make the tackle, and very little gain.
We've got 10:20 left to go in a scoreless first period here at Tampa Stadium. We would like to welcome all of you who've been watching other action around the NFL on CBS. The Bucs had 3 plays and a punt. This is the opening possession for Tommy Kramer and the Minnesota Vikings. Kramer now 3 for 3 for a total of 26 yards. Motion, Sammy White, top of your screen. Underneath, Sammy White bumped at the 25. Drilled backwards, but not before he picked up another first down. Neil Colsey, the veteran, 9 years out of Ohio State, and John Holt came up and watched the hit from the end zone now on the coverage on Sammy White.
Now, Sammy White, in the early days of his career, used to go downtown, catch a lot of touchdown passes. Now he's just a smart receiver, comes underneath, is able to take that bump and try for extra yardage. Good pursuit by Tampa Bay prevents that. But Sammy White may have lost a little bit of a step. Now he goes for that short underneath and a lot of receptions versus the big bomb.
Terry LeCount to the top of your screen. Sammy White to the near side. 1st and 10 Vikings at the 26 of Tampa Bay. Ted Brown, what a block by Darren Nelson. Another great block by LeCount and another first down for the Vikings. Ted Brown, now take a look from the end zone. Watch the block by number 20, Darren Nelson, then another great block by Terry LeCount.
And remember, number 20, the second-year man out of Stanford, is only 5'9", 180 pounds. You can't really see the block. Ted Brown, a good runner, a good all-purpose back, the kind that populate the NFL these days. These are the kind of backs that come out of the backfield. He's led the team in rushing for the last 3 years, led in receptions for the last 2 years. So he is their bread-and-butter man.
There is a surprise from Detroit. Of course, the Lions shut out Tampa Bay here 2 weeks ago by a score of 11-0. But right now, it looks like Steve Bartkowski and Dan Henning have the Falcons on track. Inside handoff, Ted Brown, left side behind Huff and Riley, and finally tackled by Hugh Green.
Ted Brown has only been over 100 yards rushing against the Bucs once, but that day was the best of his career when he got 124 yards back in 1981.
Other scores from around the NFL today. Buffalo leading now against Baltimore. The Colts have a lot of field goals in that game and one 79-yard touchdown pass. It's also the first time that Buffalo has given up a touchdown. Terry LeCount to the near side. Backs are split at 2nd down and 4 for Kramer. Buck showing blitz. Darren Nelson delays up the middle in the grasp of a couple of Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but he still manages to bull his way down to maybe the 8-yard line before Neil Colsey and Dave Logan came up to make the tackle secure.
Now, Jim, as you look at Dave Logan, you know the Tampa Bay over the years, they've been in the playoffs 3 of the last 5 years. They've lived by their defense, never a very potent offense. Doug Williams, always the big play man. They've lived by defense. This is important for Tampa. They're at home. There's a big Orange Day crowd. If they can stop Minnesota from putting the ball in the end zone now, it'll be an important momentum factor.
Tampa Bay, of course, 0-2 coming in after a perfect preseason, losing to the Lions here 2 weeks ago, 11-0. Losing at Chicago Soldier Field 17-10 last week, when in the middle of the 4th quarter in a 10-10 tie, Jerry Goldstein threw an interception, returned 32 yards by Terry Schmidt. So it's a scoreless first quarter, 3rd and 3 Vikings when we return. Welcome back to Tampa Bay, and how about that score? Green Bay with 1 second left on the clock, a 36-yard field goal by the veteran, the ageless John Centerud. 27-24 Green Bay over the Rams. That means now there are only 4 teams undefeated: the Cowboys, the Raiders, the Dolphins, and the Broncos. Los Angeles was 2-0 going in. They leave Milwaukee 2-1. We look now at 3rd and 3. Tommy Kramer sets the Vikings flood formation to the left side. Motion by Brewer, the tight end, top of your screen. Kramer will throw, post pattern, touchdown, Minnesota. Terry LeCount.
There is a prime rule as a defensive back. When you're near the goal line and you have a blitz on, as Tampa Bay did, you must take away the inside. LeCount gets the inside on Mike Washington. It's good for the touchdown. You cannot let – watch this. You see number 53 there coming through? Okay, he didn't. That's you, Green. Didn't get to the quarterback. A defensive back can only cover a receiver for a certain amount of time. Just a touchdown.
Benny Ricardo, who's been perfect in the field goal and the placement kicking, is perfect once again. And the Vikings take that opening possession, and they march right down the field. They took it over at their own 36-yard line. They go 64 yards, an 8-yard scoring strike. Tommy Kramer to Terry LeCount. Welcome back to Tampa Bay, where the Bucs have fallen behind the Vikings by that 7-0 score, as Minnesota, their opening possession, goes 64 yards, 11 plays, and they used up a lot of the first quarter, Doc.
A time-consuming drive, over 6.5 minutes. That's what Minnesota wants to do. They want to keep their defense off the field. They've been having problems.
James Owens hurdles over a couple of Vikings down at the 25. 1st and 10 for Tampa Bay. And again, the throwing Samoan Jack Thompson will be at the quarterback controls. Walker Lee Ashley in there on the coverage for Minnesota.
And it's interesting. Last week, right after the Chicago game, John McKay knew that he was going to make a quarterback change. As a matter of fact, on the plane ride home, he summoned Jack Thompson to the back of the plane. Now, head coaches don't usually sit in the back of the plane. Told him to come back and said, look, you're my starting quarterback. You have to be mentally and physically ready. We need you to lead this team. So Jack Thompson knew last Sunday night.
That is number 39 for the Minnesota Vikings on the specialty team. Carl Lee, the rookie out of Marshall. Check it, that's 49, Keith North. From the 27 of Tampa Bay, Thompson will throw on 1st down again. Near sideline, got the back. That's Jimmy Owens, but a very small pickup.
As we look at more scores, one of the problems that Tampa Bay has been having, Jim, is that Pittsburgh, big over Houston 40-28. Of course, Eddie Biles' job on the line. Pittsburgh without Bradshaw winning. I mentioned Tampa Bay and their problems. They have to get the ball upfield. Kevin House has only had 4 receptions for 17 yards. He's their big playman.
6.5 left to go in the first quarter. Motion by Jimmy Giles, the tight end. Second back through, James Owens again. Good blocking on the right side by Kelly Thompson. But Scott Studwell came up and sealed it off, along with Mark Mullaney. 9 years out of Colorado State. That's Studwell, who is down, number 55. He's also the defensive captain. Elsewhere around the NFL today, we've already had Green Bay winning on a field goal with just 1 second left to go to send the Rams back home a loser for the first time. And Chicago now rallying to tie it up at the Superdome in New Orleans against the Saints. 31-all late in the fourth. Washington was behind early in that game to Kansas City, but Theismann now has come back first to Don Warren from 12 yards, then to Clint Didier from 39, and Mosley's punched a field goal through from 34. So right now the Redskins are up over the Kansas City Chiefs. That is a final 15-point lead. Scott Studwell still down injured, but right now it's 7-0. Vikings lead Tampa Bay. The concern of Tampa Bay coach John McKay written all over his face. And Doc, when we visited the Buccaneers complex yesterday, quite a change in mood from the first season game against the Lions 2 weeks ago.
It centers around the offensive line. He said, how can we win football games when we have no tackles? 3 of their tackles were hurt. Today, some of them are back, but they're still playing with injury.
3rd and 5 as Jack Thompson has a slot formation to the left side. Kevin House to the bottom of your screen. Thompson will throw for it on 3rd and long. Got the first down. Gerald Carter approaching midfield. Covered by Dennis Johnson, the right linebacker, number 52 out of USC in his 4th year.
Jack Thompson waited. A good quarterback will wait and find the open man. Gerald Carter, number 87. Watch him on the inside of your screen. He slips, sees the linebacker inside. Dennis Johnson slips back outside to find the open spot. That's the reason he looked. He didn't keep going where he was covered. He went back outside for the completion.
From the 47 now, they shift the backs into an I formation. Wilder along with James Owens. Motion by Giles. Owens. Nothing doing. Good lateral pursuit by the Minnesota Vikings. Studwell back in there, strung out the play. You know, as we visited with the Vikings last night at their hotel, and we asked Tommy Kramer and we asked Scott Studwell and some of the others, what about the 10 days to think about that very humiliating loss to San Francisco? I think the grin on Scott's face told you the whole story of the determination of the Minnesota Vikings.
Not only the determination, Jim, but also the confidence. They felt they were ready to play, that it was just a fluke, the San Francisco game. And they're a much better football team, and they are.
Tommy Kramer said, look, we have one of those once a year. Good to get it out of the way early. 2nd and 11. Thompson will throw for it. Over the middle. Picked off by Minnesota at the 36-yard line. John Turner. 6 years out of Miami of Florida. The ball was intended for Kevin House, and you can hear the crowd reacting to Jack Thompson's interception.
Jack Thompson was counting on Theo Bell coming across the middle to make this catch. He threw it anticipating that, but instead you see Bell make the tackle. He was too early, and Turner made the interception.
Thompson's second interception of the season. Tampa Bay behind 7-0. 4.5 to go. First quarter. Maybe in the background you can hear the University of Florida band. They are also decked out in orange, playing the University of Notre Dame fight song. The Hurricanes down at the Orange Bowl in Miami play host to the Fighting Irish, who lost to Michigan State yesterday. 7-0 Minnesota. Tommy Kramer, second back through is Teddy Brown, who slithers forward maybe to the 39-yard line, not much more. John Cannon, second year out of William & Mary, big number 78, 6'5", 260, a third-round draft pick back in 1982 for Tampa Bay, in there on the tackle.
And John Cannon, number 78, in there for Dave Stalls, who's just come back. And John McKay, when we talked to him, said John Cannon is one of the biggest surprises in camp.
Update on Keith Nord, the backup safety, the fifth-year safety out of St. Cloud State. They are injured. They are x-raying his ankle in the Vikings dressing room right now. Not expected back in the first half. From the 38 of Minnesota, Kramer, wide receivers left and right. Teddy Brown gets the call, bowls his way forward, maybe to the 40-yard line, not much more. Stacked up there by Dave Logan, the nose tackle, and Scott Brantley.
This is really a fruitless effort. You're talking about the best running defense in the NFC, and the Minnesota Vikings trying to run the ball against Tampa Bay. And Ted Brown having a good afternoon, doing it fairly well. At the moment, 7 carries for 35 yards.
Well, we talked about the Tampa Bay defense ranked 7th overall in the NFL. First against the rush, however, but 11th, somewhat suspect against the pass, and they're looking at that shotgun formation right now. Kramer in it. Slot formation left side. 3rd and 6 Vikings. First down, Minnesota. That's Teddy Brown out of the backfield. Now, Ted Brown leads Minnesota in receiving. He came into the game with 11 catches, 101 yards, averaging 9 yards plus in the catch department and 1 touchdown. He also leads in rushes, 29 for 107 yards.
One of the reasons that this works is that Tommy Kramer reads correctly, gets the man one-on-one coverage. That's Brown on John Holt, and Brown just makes a good reception. Has great hands.
Second time in a row, Tommy Kramer has worked over John Holt in his 3rd year from West Texas State. 1st and 10 for the Vikings. They scored on their first possession. Kramer now is perfect, 6 out of 6 for 42 yards. Tommy did not have bad stats against the 49ers, but the 3 interceptions were deadly. Darren Nelson, and that time the second-year back out of Stanford, chopped down behind the line of scrimmage. John Cannon with excellent pursuit.
And Darren Nelson is one of those backs with speed to get to the outside. That's why you realize how well John Cannon, number 78, played that. Kept the containment, made the tackle for a loss.
14 tackles and 1 sack. 3rd-round pick back in '82. John Cannon still growing, I guess, 6'5" and 260. They feed him a lot at the training table, don't they?
And what a preseason he had. He had 5 of the 14 sacks that Tampa had in preseason.
2nd and long, 19, facing Tommy Kramer. Slot to the right side. Inside handoff. Darren Nelson maybe back to the 44. Teddy Brown, check it. Teddy Brown got the call on that one. Hugh Green made the stop along with Johnny Holt. So now the Vikings, who scored on their first possession, looking at 3rd and 16. Inside 120, 119 and counting left to go in this first quarter. A scoreless first quarter for Tampa Bay. John, they continue to have all sorts of offensive problems. Shut out 11-0 to the Lions. They managed just 1 touchdown against the Bears.
More pressure on the defense.
John McKay hoping the defense would not have to be out there quite so much early in this football game. Shotgun formation. Slot to the right side. Sammy White to the near side. Kramer goes post on the right side. In and out, and it's Terry LeCount. Castile was the man beaten on the play, but from the end zone, watch the down and out by Terry LeCount.
The reason it worked is that LeCount turned Castile. You see him trying to recover. LeCount ran right up on him, faked like he was going deep. Castile turned. LeCount made the out. Kramer put it on the line. Completion, first down.
Now, we talked about Tommy Kramer's stats against the San Francisco 49ers. He threw for over 240 yards, but he came up with those interceptions, the three of them. Steve Dills came in. He tossed two more. Look what Kramer has done so far this afternoon. He's picture perfect for 61 yards and a big first down right there. From the 37 of Tampa Bay. Play action. Wide open. Brewer. Another first down. Cedric Brown back on the coverage, but what a mismatch. Brewer is 6'5", 240, and Cedric Brown is just 6'1" and 200 pounds.
The linebackers bought that play action fake. Brewer just slipped out over the middle, made the catch for the first down. One of the things that last week that San Francisco said Kramer wouldn't do was throw deep downtown, so they settled. Their defensive back settled, and they had some interceptions. But now, as you look at Brewer's career interceptions, Kramer is having a hot day, and when he's hot, he can move any team and beat any team.
Brewer in his 5th year, free agent. That's motion by Brewer. Back to the bottom of your screen. Again, play action. The bootleg by Tommy Kramer. He's got a block in front. Busted out of bounds at the 13-yard line. Chased out by Mike Washington in his 8th year. But watch the block by Terry LeCount and look at Tommy Kramer. And he is in obvious pain. That is LeCount, who came over and said, stay there right now. And the trainer will have to come in from the far side. Quickly limbering up on the far side, Steve Dills.
Jim, I'm very surprised to see Tommy Kramer bootleg and run with the ball. He's only run 7 times for -5 yards. Tommy Kramer is not paid to run with the ball. He's got enough runners. As you see Dills in the background, behind Bud Grant, Tommy Kramer obviously in pain.
Tommy Kramer came in, of course, as one of the top-rated passers in the NFC, completing almost 64% of his passes. Now watch the bootleg. There's a block by LeCount in front of him here. Now watch Kramer as he goes out of bounds and see if he twists the ankle right there.
He was pulled back, and it looks like his right knee might have gotten caught underneath him. He was pulled down. Of course, Kramer has had knee trouble in the past. He's twisted over the back. If we had to speculate, that's what it might be.
The right knee or the right ankle. Mike Washington pulled him down by the jersey after he went out of bounds. And you can see that right knee and right ankle extended. And the veteran out of Rice in his 7th year. The concern on Bud Grant. Steve Dills will come in. Now, Steve is in his 5th year out of Stanford. He is 6'1", 190. His best pro game, ironically, came against Tampa Bay back in 1981 when he was 37 of 62 for 261 yards. 361 yards. That's a club record, the 62 attempts. There is Steve Dills and what he has done this year. 2 of those interceptions against San Francisco.
And in that game that you mentioned against Tampa Bay, they were driving for what would have been the winning field goal. He threw an out pattern. Neil Colby stepped in front, ran it back for a touchdown. Steve Dills was near perfect that day in 81 against Tampa Bay.
Wide receivers left and right. Motion now. Sammy White. Inside handoff. Teddy Brown's got a blocker in front of him at the 10. Slithers on down to the 7 before Scott Bradley saved a touchdown. And that will be the final play of the first quarter. Tommy Kramer left 8 out of 8, 78 yards and 1 touchdown. And that touchdown, the difference in this football game right now. An 8-yard scoring strike to Terry LeCount. Kramer's 3rd touchdown toss of the year. Terry LeCount's 2nd touchdown catch. As the Vikings took their opening possession, they went 64 yards in 11 plays. They lead after the first quarter 7-0. Welcome back to Tampa Stadium. Jim Kelly, John Dockery. It's 7-0 Vikings on top over the Buccaneers. Minnesota driving again. That is Steve Dills, number 12 at quarterback. We'll update the injury on Tommy Kramer in just a minute. Backs are split. 1st and goal for Minnesota. Teddy Brown bowls his way over the center, blocking by Hamilton and Huff. Tommy Kramer pulled down on a bootleg around the left side, dragged down by Mike Washington. They're applying ice, John, to that right knee.
He had a sore knee in 1981, missed some games there also. What a tragedy for Minnesota if Tommy Kramer is out. They seem to be taping it up, taping the ice on it in the hopes of keeping the swelling down.
Word we get from the Viking bench, Tommy Kramer not expected back. So number 12, Steve Dills at the quarterback control. He, of course, out of Stanford, as is Darren Nelson in his second year. Around the NFL today, we talk about Minnesota and that humiliating defeat to the Vikings, or to the 49ers last week. Look what San Francisco did in St. Louis. So after losing their opening game to the Philadelphia Eagles, Bill Walsh has got the former Super Bowl champions in track. That's a final in from Buffalo, even though the Bills surrendered a couple of touchdowns, their first of the year. Baltimore added a bunch of field goals, and Buffalo wins 28-23. 14:20 left to go here in this first half. The difference, a Tommy Kramer touchdown toss to Terry LeCount. It's 7-0, the Vikings over Tampa Bay. Welcome back to Tampa Bay. Tampa Stadium, the home of Super Bowl 18. CBS, the home of the Super Bowl as well this year in January. Catch all the action. Right now, the Vikings are threatening, and that's Steve Dills, the quarterback. Motion from the tight end. Play action. Thrown behind the intended receiver, Ricky Young, looping out of the backfield, and he was wide open. Steve Dills, obviously not much time to warm up over on the sideline after Tommy Kramer was pulled down. There is Tommy Kramer with the ice pack on that right knee. It's a sprained right knee. They will take Kramer into the Viking locker room at halftime, and at that time, they'll evaluate the situation to see whether or not Tommy can come back. 7th year out of Rice, 6'2", 105. First-round draft pick back in '77. And you can just imagine the frustration after we visited with him at the hotel last night. He was all pumped up for this game. Sammy White to the top of your screen, LeCount to the bottom. Slot, and Darren Nelson moves inside of that. Motion now by White. Steve Dills sacked at the 10-yard line. Andy Hawkins. That was a big defensive play.
Unnecessary, and you hear the crowd come alive as Hawkins comes from the outside. Watch the right side of your screen. Dills is looking left, never sees Hawkins, tries to scramble, no chance. Now if Dills gets hurt, it's Wade Wilson.
Interesting play selection, though, when you've got it down at your opponent's 3-yard line. You go to the pass on both those plays when you've got a runner like a Teddy Brown and a Darren Nelson.
And also play action, which takes a little bit longer. Those guys are coming. They're not dealing with play action down there.
Steve Dills will hold. Benny Ricardo will boom it on through. Snap was perfect, and the spot and the kick likewise. So the Vikings have scored both times they've had the football. The one after a 3-play and punt Tampa Bay drive was thwarted. They went 64 yards and scored. They got the touchdown. Then after the John Turner interception, Ricardo makes it 10-0 Minnesota. Boy, have we got a dandy for you next Saturday night right here on CBS Sports. We talked about the University of Florida marching band playing the Notre Dame fight song a few seconds ago. The Irish upset by Michigan State yesterday. Miami of Florida. Head coach Howard Schnellenberger, what a job they did against Purdue. And 9 o'clock Eastern time next Saturday here on CBS Sports. It'll be the Hurricanes and the Fighting Irish. Ricardo will tee it up at the 35. Michael Morton to the top of your screen. James Owens to the near side. Michael Morton will watch this one bounce at the 19 out of bounds. So John McKay will have to decide field position or make him kick it again.
The entire first quarter, Jim, was totally the Minnesota Vikings. They had the ball for a little over 11 minutes, while Tampa Bay had it for under 4 minutes. Tampa Bay must generate some offense, must get into the end zone. They scored 10-zip. They've only scored 1 touchdown in their previous 2 games. This is a division game. To go 0-3 this early could be the nail in their coffin.
And you take a look at the schedule. The Bengals of Cincinnati will be here at Tampa Bay next week. Then they travel to Green Bay and Dallas. So Tampa Bay obviously does not want to drop a division game and go to 0-3. Meanwhile, the Vikings will play host to the Detroit Lions at noon at the Hubert H. Humphrey Metrodome back in Minneapolis.
Of course, Green Bay a winner over the Rams today. It's the passing game against the running game. I take the passing game any day. And of course, the Rams next week go to New York to play the Jets here on CBS. Both teams loses. The Jets surprise loses to New England. That should be one heck of a game.
From the 30, Ricardo will tee it up once again. He didn't get all of this one. Michael Morton, and they bobble the ball. Finally picked up. That's Melvin Carver. And a little breakdown on the specialty teams and a pretty good return after the initial muff. Walker Lee Ashley came up and made the tackle for the Minnesota Vikings. After the interception by John Turner, the Vikings got a 28-yard field goal by Benny Ricardo, and that's the scoring drive. So we stand 10-0, Minnesota on top over Tampa Bay.
And another time-consuming scoring drive. And the Bucs better do something right now. Jack Thompson has to lift his team. The quarterback has to do that. No Tampa Bay quarterback has been able to do it this year. Not Goldstein, not Thompson till now.
1st and 10 for Thompson from his own 32. Motion by Giles, the tight end. Second back through. Good hole on the right side. Jimmy Owens busting on through there. And maybe, John Dockery, part of the reason for the increased offensive surge, the fact that Steve Wilson, number 50, the 8-year veteran center out of Georgia, is back in there now.
This is a good line surge, and the reason you're seeing so much of James Owens, the 5th man out of UCLA, good lead block in there by Wilder, is that Melvin Carver had terrible 2 first games, and John McKay said, I'm going to Owens.
Big hole opened up by Wilson, Farrell, and Thomas on the right side. Second and short, slot formation to the right side. Thompson now, that's motion by the tight end again. First down, Tampa Bay, as they bullet across the 43. James Wilder in his 3rd year out of Missouri. Boy, Missouri had a tough time against Wisconsin yesterday. They had 2 fumbled punts by a freshman that led to 14 points for the Badgers of Wisconsin. John McKay didn't see too many fumbled punts in all his years at USC. From the 43 of Tampa Bay, wide receivers left and right. Lone setback, James Wilder, number 32. The pitch. Breaks it across the 46. Slithers forward for a small pickup of 3. Walker Lee Ashley, the rookie out of Penn State, came up to make the tackle secure. If you're wondering how the series stands between the Vikings and Tampa Bay, Minnesota leads 7 victories to 3, but Minnesota's also won 5 of their last 6. They have won 4 and lost just 1 here at Tampa Bay, while they're 3-2 back home in Minnesota. The last time that Tampa Bay won was back in '81 when they defeated the Vikings 21-13. Kevin House to the top of your screen and Gerald Carter to the near side. Thompson will throw for it on 2nd and 7. They will rule it incomplete at the 42. John Swain almost came up with a great interception. The ball thrown badly behind Kevin House. Swain, another one of those hurricanes out of Howard Schnellenberger's University of Miami.
And you know why John Swain was able to almost come up with that interception? Because he did what a cornerback's supposed to do. You see the quarterback, you see his drop, you also, out of your peripheral vision, see the wide receiver. The danger here, as you see Swain settling, see, he saw the quarterback, saw the ball coming. House never saw it. The danger, though, is that House will turn it up on him later on for the touchdown.
Who would figure that in 2 games that Kevin House would only have 4 receptions for a total of 17 yards. Thompson directs traffic way shy of first down yardage. That was the safety valve man. Wilder out of the backfield, and the Boo Birds here at Tampa Bay coming alive again. Matt Blair on the coverage on that man. Another punting situation. This is a tough situation for the throwing Samoans.
He said it happened one time in Pittsburgh. They were in Cincinnati. They were booing him. He came in the huddle. He used a little sense of humor. He said to the center, I've never heard a center booed this much by a crowd.
But based on what that man, John McKay, told you yesterday at the Bucs workout, he is going with Jack Thompson. He is the Tampa Bay quarterback. It is his game to win or lose.
More of a fiery personality. Might be able to get the team up. So far, he hasn't been able to do it.
Rufus Best will watch this one sail into the end zone. Frank Garcia, the outstanding rookie out of Arizona, but we've got Flag Day right down there now, so we'll check the call. 10:45 left to go in a scoreless football game as far as Tampa Bay is concerned. The Vikings have a touchdown and a field goal. Dick Jorgensen, the referee. Vikings will have a decision to make. Looks as if one of the Bucs downfield too quickly. Coming up at halftime, scores from around the NFL today and lots of highlights from our game here, Tampa Bay and Minnesota.
And as you talk about the Tampa Bay quarterbacks, Goldstein starting the first 2 games, not being able to do it. Now Thompson having his problems.
5, punting team, decline, first down.
Penalty was declined, Jim, but the ghost of Doug Williams roams those sidelines, and we had a chance to talk with him before today's game. That'll be coming up at halftime.
Also at halftime, John Dockery talks with Doug Williams. We've got 10:45 left to go in this first half. Tampa Bay on the short end by 10. The Saints have bummed Phillips in overtime. A 41-yard field goal by Morton Anderson. And New Orleans wins it by 3 against the Chicago Bears. 1st and 10 for the Vikings now at their own 20-yard line. Nelson and Galbraith are the backs. This is Darren Nelson, #1 draft pick a year ago out of Stanford. Bowls his way forward, maybe to the 24. Dave Logan, the outstanding nose tackle for the Buccaneers, chased him down.
And remember talking to Darren Nelson last night, how upset he was last year when people used to compare him. Well, you were drafted before Marcus Allen, and yet Marcus Allen had that great year, and you haven't had a great year. But he's told us, Jim, that he was feeling more comfortable this year.
What a great smile he's got. He's almost an infectious kind of grin. We said, how about that San Francisco 49er game? He said, what game? Dills will throw for it on 2nd and 6. Batted down at the line of scrimmage by Leroy Selman. You know, it's almost a trademark of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. Regardless of what the offense is doing, they are still in this football game. They never gave up against the Lions. They didn't give up against the Bears. It's almost like 2 different football teams. You've got the defensive unit, which still plays, and they'll give you that good 60-minute effort, regardless of what the offense is doing or not doing.
Exactly, Jim. And that defense anchored by that man, number 63, Leroy Selman, the man that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers drafted first in '76 4 times in the Pro Bowl.
Build a franchise around. Slot formation. Now it's a flood to the left side. Dills blitzes on, loops it out to Galbraith, bobbles the ball at the 25. Incomplete at the 25. Neil Colsey, the veteran out of Ohio State. And when he hits you, you know you've been hit.
And you sense that Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense wants to take some control of this game. They're coming with more pressure. They're gambling.
Let's go to New York for an update now with Brent Musburger.
Jim, there were 4 minutes to go in overtime when Morton Anderson of the New Orleans Saints nailed this 41-yard field goal to beat the Bears 34-31 for the Saints, their first ever overtime triumph. Let's go back now to Jim Kelly.
Thank you, Brent. Long day as it's doubleheader day here on CBS Sports. Brent, Irv, Phyllis, the Greek, everybody back in New York at the NFL control. Greg Coleman, you've seen what he has done so far in 2 games, 1 win and 1 loss. Line of scrimmage, the 24. Snap is low. Bucks are coming. And Coleman shanked this one. Tampa Bay will have great field position. Finally killed down in the vicinity of the 41-yard line by Henry Johnson, number 53. The line of scrimmage was the 24. So Tampa Bay, whose defense now has been coming alive after Tommy Kramer has left with an injury to his right knee, sets up that Tampa Bay offense. Inopportunity so far, but let's see what Tampa Bay can do when we come back trailing 10-zip. Almost a quarter of a decade as a head coach. That man there, John McKay. Great career, of course, at USC. National championships abound before he took over here at Tampa Bay. And what a job he's done with the Bucs in terms of keeping Tampa Bay competitive in the NFC Central. Inside handoff, James Owens, nothing doing across that left side. Sanders and Yarnell. Now keep in mind that Tampa Bay's offensive line, they've got a lot of problems. Wilson is back in there, despite the fact that Grimes started. Wilson has an injury to his hand. Snell likewise. And Revis also with an injury. So that right side and the left side is kind of a patchwork orange, John Dockery.
Patchwork orange, exactly. And against a good, solid defensive line, Martin, Johnson, Mullaney, Holloway.
2nd and long for Jack Thompson. Clouds beginning to drift in once again here at Tampa Bay. Had monsoon-like rains this time yesterday afternoon. Motion from the tight end. Thompson on a post pattern. Wide open is Theo Bell. First down, Tampa Bay. John Turner, who had the interception that led to the 10-0 advantage as far as the Vikings were concerned. The man who was back there on the coverage on Theo Bell, but that ball rifled in by that man, Jack Thompson.
And despite the completion, Bell was the one that made that. Now let me tell you something, Jim. This telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of telecast without the express written consent of the Tampa Bay Bucks and the National Football League is prohibited.
From the 28, Tampa Bay pitchback goes to James Wilder. Hole opens up on the right side, sealed off quickly. Kelly Thomas and Sean Farrell doing the blocking, but nose tackle Charlie Johnson, linebacker Scott Studwell sealed it off.
The stop was made by Scott.
Wilder in his 3rd year out of Missouri. And as far as Tampa Bay's ground game is concerned, he came into this game with 15 carries, 58 yards, his longest for 11 yards, averaging about 3.6, and no touchdowns.
Line of scrimmage is 25 now, Minnesota. 2nd and 7. Kevin House to the top of your screen. Theo Bell to the bottom. Wilder the only running back. Motion from House. Wilder. Slithers underneath a couple of Vikings. Maybe gets down to the 22. Doug Martin, 4th year out of Washington, made the tackle.
You know, traditionally, the people have not been that strong running the ball on the ground. Last year in the NFL, they were 19th in rushing. This year, you know, in the NFC in rushing. They're going to put the ball up, and the quarterback is going to have to find the open man. John McKay told us that Goldstein didn't do it last week, and that's one of the reasons why Jack Thompson is starting today. He felt he could find the open man.
Coach McKay pointed out that Goldstein had lots of time to throw the football. It was not the fault of the offensive line. 3rd and 5 for Thompson. First down inside the 16. Gerald Carter, loose football, and a scramble for it down at the 17. But Tampa Bay had appeared to pick up the first down. Let's see who came up with the football. Matt Blair said he did. Dick Jorgensen gets the final call, and he says first down Tampa Bay. Matt Blair can't believe it.
Let's take a look at it again. Gerald Carter took a big hit after he caught this ball. Couldn't hold on to it, but I think the referee's whistle had blown. Let's take a look. Right here, a big hit right there by John Turner, number 27. They said his progress was stopped. Whistle had blown. Tampa Bay keeps the ball.
Break for the Buccaneers, who trail early. 10-0, 6:25 and counting left in this first half. The Bucs obviously would like to come away with a touchdown, but must come away with some points. Motion Kevin House to the top of your screen. Wide open. Wilder inside the 10, inside the 5. Bowls his way down to the 2. John Swain saved a touchdown for the Vikings.
Like Wilder at 230 pounds coming at you.
Thompson 6 out of 10 for 54 yards. Double tight end alignment now for Tampa Bay. 1st and goal. Touchdown. That's Jimmy Owens, 5th year out of UCLA, up and over the left side. Wilson, Yarno, and Sanders doing the blocking.
And they couldn't do it last week against Chicago. They had the ball on the 1-yard line. This time they're determined. Owens launches himself like a missile over the top. The offensive line does its job. It goes down low. Touchdown. Tampa Bay only the 2nd one of the season, Jim.
And it comes with 5.5 left to go in this first half. Bill Capice will try the extra point out of Florida State. Hugo, the holder, had trouble with it, and Capice will pick it up. Had thoughts of maybe throwing the ball like that little old tie maker down the road in Miami, Garo Yepremian. And Capice, you can see the frustration. That's more than frustration, that's anger. So Tampa Bay gets the touchdown from James Owens, but a big point after is missed. It is Minnesota leading by 4, 5.5 to go, first half. It all starts with Brent Musburger in the NCAA Today regional football action. Ohio State against Iowa. Rick Tomaszak and the Buckeyes. What a job they did against Oklahoma yesterday. Oklahoma State against Texas A&M. Tulane, an upset winner against Florida State yesterday. And Kentucky, what a job the Wildcats are doing. They are 3-0 after Jerry Claiborne went undefeated, or went 0-11 in his rookie year with Kentucky. Now they're 3-0 after their win yesterday against Indiana. Jarvis Redwine. 1st and 10 Vikings at their own 20-yard line. Capice, look at him. He is still angry about the missed snap by Bob Huco and missing that extra point. The Vikings on the top end, 10-6. As we look now at the Tampa Bay scoring drive, a 1-yard dive by James Owens.
A well-executed, balanced scoring drive. The key play, the pass to Wilder down to the 1-yard line. 7 plays, 41 yards, almost 4.5 minutes. You sense that Thompson was finding something on that drive. Now, some fire here. The fans active. Go Bucks. The Buccaneer defense, if they can come up with it now, give the ball back, the Bucks are back in this game.
I'll tell you what they found on that drive, a Greg Coleman punt that didn't. That's what set it up.
Exactly.
Teddy Brown. And again, the pursuit by Tampa Bay's defense taking charge of this football game.
And if we recap the situation, remember, Minnesota's lost Kramer. Steve Dills is in there at quarterback. Kramer's knee is going to be checked at halftime. We don't know whether he'll be back or not. Tampa Bay has just scored a touchdown. Even though they missed the extra point, As we look at Andy Hawkins on the sideline for Tampa Bay, the fine linebacker, 4th year out of Texas A&I, along the sideline, comes limping off.
2nd down and 8. Slot formation to the left side. LeCount comes out wide to the right side. Galbraith and Ted Brown are the running backs for Steve Dills. Wide open, Tony Galbraith, but way shy. Check it, that's Ricky Young. Way shy of first down yardage at the 27-yard line. There's Andy Hawkins. These two teams, the Vikings and Tampa Bay, since Tampa Bay came into the NFC Central back in '77, the Bucs have won 2 division titles. Minnesota has won 3.
And a lot of people talk about Green Bay as being the favorite this year in the NFC Central. I'd have to say the Minnesota Vikings would also be co-favorites.
Sammy White in a slot formation to the left side. LeCount is outside of him. Ricky Young along with Teddy Brown. Bucs are showing blitz. Almost jumped. They're coming, and look out! Scott Brantley, but let's check the flag. Might have been procedure. It is. That's the preliminary indication from Dick Jorgensen, the referee. One of the interior linemen might have moved, trying to anticipate that Buck blitz.
But when you see all that orange up on the line and you know they're coming, you know they're anxious, you feel the momentum shift to Tampa Bay here.
False start, right guard, offense, still 3rd down.
Right guard is Wes Hamilton, number 61, in his 8th year out of Tulsa. 3rd and 8 now for Steve Dills. And they've got to throw the ball a little bit deeper. They've been concentrating on Ricky Young and Ted Brown. I think they've got to throw it downfield with Dills and test the cornerback.
They have Sammy White. They have LeCount. They have good upfield receivers.
Buck showing blitz again. They're all coming. Dills just unloads it. No flags intended in the general vicinity of Terry LeCount, but Steve Dills never saw it. He was flat on his back. Mike Washington back there on the coverage, and look at the crowd come alive. Bill Capice ushered back off the playing field. There's some of the sea of orange. It is Orange Day here. Orange Sunday. The Bucs gave out orange visors to all the folks who wore any article of clothing that was orange. And we'll also donate 25 cents for every orange drink that is purchased here this afternoon to the Ronald McDonald All Children's Hospital Fund. Andre Tyler crawling along the ground, maybe to the 39, and the Bucs will begin 1st and 10 from that point. So that old friend momentum is swung the way of Tampa Bay right now. First with the injury to Tommy Kramer, then with a bad punt by Greg Coleman, then the touchdown dive by James Owens. Tampa Bay's defense asserting themselves and the offense playing much better.
He's a very fickle fellow, that man Momentum, and now Jack Thompson has him on his side. And you sense that Jack Thompson, when we talk to him, John McKay, one of the reasons John McKay put him in there is that he is a fiery competitor, and that's the word that Jack Thompson used when he described himself. I am a competitor.
High formation. Thompson will throw. Play action, 1st down. Rifles it far sideline. Got Gerald Carter. 1st down, Tampa Bay. John Swain back on the coverage. Watch the offensive line and the protection afforded to throwing Samoan.
Good protection all the way. Samoan puts it out there. Defensive back John Swain is a little too far off. Gerald Carter, the reception.
15 yards and a 1st down. Carter, the favorite receiver of Jerry Goldstein and Jack Thompson, not only in the preseason, but Carter came in with 10 catches, 139 yards, averaging almost 14 yards per catch. That's the 5th straight completion for Jack Thompson. Pitch back. James Owens. Student body right. 1st down, Buccaneers.
James Owens has the speed to get outside. Now coming into this game, as you watch it from the end zone, only 29 yards rushing. Here, that dip inside. Good blocking all the way around. He gets outside for a good gain.
Excellent block by the veteran out of Penn State, Sean Farrell. Also Kelly Thomas, the rookie out of USC. That's what James Owens has done so far this afternoon, plus 1 touchdown. 1st and 10, Tampa Bay now at the 33-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. Slot formation to the right side. Kevin House is outside. Gerald Carter is inside. Picks up 3, James Owens does. Fifth-year running back out of UCLA. Brings up 2nd down and 7. Dennis Johnson in his 4th year out of USC. And Charlie Johnson, 7th year out of Colorado. The nose tackle made the tackle. What's going on in Cowboy country? The New York Giants with that ferocious defense. Maybe the premier defense in the National Football League.
Lawrence Taylor is just unstoppable there. Dallas, here's Philadelphia leading Denver 7-zip. And here, the Vikings lead by 4. Bucks on the move.
And of course, of main concern to Minnesota fans, the examination at halftime of Tommy Kramer and whether he can return or not in the second half. Good penetration by the Minnesota Viking defense that time. There was a big hole set up on the left side with Revis and Yarno doing the blocking for James Owens. But Scott Studwell came up to seal it off, and one of the cornerbacks penetrated from the right side to turn that play inside.
Here come the dancing Bears. In a passing situation, of course, situational substitution is a byword in the NFL these days. The Vikings send in 4 or 5 different players. They like to get a 4-man rush. They also like to get 6 defensive backs. So they have the best of both worlds, a rush and coverage.
From the 28 of Minnesota, Tampa Bay's Jack Thompson, 3rd and 5. Carter and Kevin House are split. Wide open. And that ball could have been intercepted. Wilder let it go. The Minnesota back closing from the far side, Johnny Swain, out of Miami of Florida, had a shot at the INT.
That was pressure on the quarterback, forced him to throw the ball. That's a questionable situation. Goldstein did that last week against Chicago, and it was intercepted, run back for a touchdown, and that's the reason that Tampa Bay lost. Here, Thompson almost does the same thing. Under pressure, sometimes you have to eat the ball. That's part of being a quarterback.
Huco will spot the ball at the 37. Excuse me, it is Andre Tyler now, 81. It is not Bob Huco. So this will be a 47-yard try for Bill Capice. The crowd will tell you. No good. Wide to the left side. Certainly well within Capice's range, since in his career he has hit 3 from 51.
And Jim, you mentioned Andre Tyler, number 81, holding. I was surprised to see Bob Huco hold on the extra point, which Capice also missed, because Huco was hurt. He wasn't expected to hold. Tyler was expected to be the holder. So they're having problems in their field goal kicking game.
We're at the 2-minute warning right now. Minnesota has a touchdown and a field goal. Tampa Bay has a touchdown, a missed extra point, and a missed field goal. The difference is 4 when we return. The preceding message brought to you by the National Football League. Welcome back to Tampa Stadium, the home of Super Bowl 18, which you can see right here on CBS Sports. Jim Kelly and John Dockery. Hope you're enjoying the game between the Vikings and the Buccaneers. A big division battle in the NFC Central. As you look at the Tampa Bay Pep Band here, also at halftime, the University of Florida Marching Band will be here. They're across the way, decked out in orange and navy. And they are one of the finest bands you will ever see. They will also be entertaining at Super Bowl 18.
January 22, right here on CBS. 1st
and 10, Ted Brown stacked up behind the line of scrimmage by John Cannon. Now, an interesting decision by Bud Grant right now. That man, Steve Dills, is in. Tommy Kramer is out. He'll be examined at the half to determine whether or not he can come back in the second half. Flag is down as we watch Dick Jorgensen, the referee. You've got a 4-point lead. You've got the Tampa Bay defense teeing off on your quarterback. So what do you do now? Do you go in and try to protect that 4-point lead? You've got all your 3 timeouts left.
Jim, I don't think you can protect the lead against a good defense like this. If you give away that momentum and Tampa Bay comes back and gets on top, they're going to be tough at home here.
Face mask against Tampa Bay.
5-yard face mask foul. Defense, still 1st down.
That's the minor version of the face mask. Cowboys have come back against the New York Giants in the second quarter. They now lead 7-3. We'll update all the scores around the NFL today for you at halftime. And John Dockery talks with the former Buccaneer quarterback, Doug Williams. Wide receivers left and right for Dills on 1st and 6. Play action. Wide open, Ricky Young. 1st down, Minnesota, and more. Ricky Young keeps the knees turning all the way down into the Buccaneers' territory at the 49-yard line. Brantley on the tackle.
I have to say that's a good read by Steve Dills. He rolls out one way, sees that the entire Tampa Bay Buc defense is going that direction, and then he comes back and finds Ricky Young for good completion. Young runs well with the ball after he catches it. Of course, Ricky Young is no stranger to catching the ball out of the backfield. He led the NFL in 1978 with 88 catches. But watch Dills come back to his secondary receiver. And watch Young run with the ball. A couple of fakes here. Yes, and Neil Colsey. No, excuse me. Mike Washington. Mike Washington, injured for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
A very physical game. Tommy Kramer has already left with a knee injury. This is Mike Washington, and they're working on, it looks like, that right calf.
And he's really an important part of the Tampa Bay defensive secondary. He's a man with 26 career interceptions. That's second in the NFC besides Herman Edwards. They need Mike Washington in that secondary. They already have Mark Cotton hurt, so they can't afford. As you look at Seattle on top of San Diego, 14-7. Where is the San Diego offense?
Well, if the San Diego defense is out there too much because Seattle keeps it on the ground, which I'm anticipating with Chuck Knox's strategy. It's Chuck Knox's home debut at the Kingdome out in Seattle. Dan Fouts has hit Charlie Joyner from 25 yards out, and Jim Zorn answered that 5-yard scoring strike to Steve Largent. 14-7 Seahawks on top over the San Diego Chargers. 1:35 left to go before halftime here at Tampa Stadium. Darren Nelson and Ted Brown, the running backs for Steve Dills. Sammy White to the top of your screen. Terry LeCount to the bottom. Motion by Teddy Brown. Dills will throw for it from the 49 of Tampa Bay. Got Ted Brown inside the 25, out of bounds at the 23. He leads the Vikings in rushing and receiving.
Andy Hawkins has the coverage on Brown out of the backfield. He just doesn't see the ball. He gets turned around, as will happen to a defender sometimes. Brown, with good concentration, catches the ball and tiptoes up the sidelines before going out of bounds.
25-yard pickup for that man, Teddy Brown. Steve Dills very quickly now working the Vikings into field goal range. Ricky Young is in, replacing Darren Nelson. Ted Brown stays in, number 23. Backs are split. Wide receivers are split, left and right. The workhorse, Teddy Brown, chops his way down to the 19-yard line. Andy Hawkins chopped him down.
And remember, if the Tampa Bay defense can hold them to a field goal here, it'll be 13-6, and a touchdown, an extra point, will tie the score. So this is an important series for both clubs. As you look at Ted Brown, 12 rushes for 54 yards. He's the workhorse.
Terry Dills, 3 out of 7 in the passing department, 58 yards. And the Vikings have utilized their second timeout. They've got one left. Dills goes over in the far sideline across the way and will confer with Bud Grant. Let's take a look at what has been happening around the NFL today. A couple of surprises. There are right now only 4 undefeated teams. Both of those teams have lost previously. In overtime, New Orleans by 3 against the Chicago Bears. San Francisco, after humiliating the Vikings, did the same thing in St. Louis. 49ers are on the right track again after losing their opening game to the Philadelphia Eagles. Atlanta, no problem against Detroit. And, of course, the Vikings will play host to the Lions next week at the Metrodome in Minneapolis. Washington had to come back against the Kansas City Chiefs. 2 late drives by Joe Theismann, the running of Riggins and the passing of Joe. The Jets ran into all kinds of problems. Ron Meyer wins his first of the year. The Patriots are 1-2. The Jets 2-1.
Second week in a row, the Jets have dropped one. Last week, Seattle beat them. There were 7 turnovers for the Jets. This week, it's New England. Pittsburgh beats Houston 40-28. Big win for Pittsburgh.
Houston with Earl Campbell is mediocre. Without them, they're awful. Second down and 6 for Steve Dills. Slot to the left side from the 19 of Tampa Bay. Batted down, incomplete at the line of scrimmage. Dave Logan, the nose tackle, the man that got him. Word now from the Minnesota bench, and bad news for Viking fans. Tommy Kramer out for the day. He will not return. So Steve Dills will have to go the rest of the way at quarterback. And as if his problem is not compounded by Dave Logan, the rain beginning to come down here at Tampa Bay. You talk about a sea of orange. Watch the parkas that they pull out now.
He actually had some time to throw. Just a big arm up there by number 76, David Logan. They kept both backs in for maximum protection. That's how much respect they have for the Tampa Bay Bucs defense.
3rd and 6. Vikings got a break that the ball was batted down. Dills drills it. Bad ball. LeCount tried to turn the defensive back around, and Dills threw that one way behind him.
And after he threw the ball, he just slapped his hands like, what did I do? That was a terrible throw. Dills is out of his rhythm. He's actually a pretty good quarterback with a lot of talent. Some people may remember him at Stanford, where he set a whole bunch of Pac-10 records out there. He's a good quarterback.
But, of course, it's tough to come in cold, and he had literally no time. I think he only threw about 3 balls over on the sideline before he had to come in. He'll get some time on the sideline after the end of the first half to warm up a little bit. And Steve Dills in one game against Tampa Bay was 37 of 62 for 361 yards and 1 touchdown. Benny Ricardo nails the field goal, and the Vikings increase their lead now to 7 points. So it was a Tommy Kramer touchdown toss of 8 yards to Terry LeCount, and then 2 Benny Ricardo field goals, 13 for the Vikings. Tampa Bay gets a 1-yard touchdown dive by James Owen. The extra point no good as it scooted out of the hands on the snap of the holder, Bob Huco. And it's right now a 7-point advantage for Minnesota. But certainly that is not a comfortable lead here at Tampa Bay.
With 52 seconds left, it'll be very interesting to see what John McKay and the Tampa Bay Bucks decide to do. Jack Thompson hasn't played that much in the last few years. This is his first start in the NFL in a few years since coming over from Cincinnati. Will they play it safe and go in trailing by 7 points, or will they try to get some points on the board? I'm a believer you have to go for it. If you're a timid defensive offensive team, then you're going to have some problems. And I think Thompson and the Bucks have to try to get at least a field goal up.
I would think with the arm that Jack Thompson has, and with some of the offensive weapons like a Theo Bell, like a Wilder, like an Owens, and certainly a Kevin House, they still haven't sprung Kevin House. He's a game breaker. He came in with just 4 catches for 17 yards. They've got to get the ball to Kevin House. That's a key to this football game, and that's what Studwell told us last night in the hotel. It's one of the 3 things they were hoping to shut down: Kevin House and the running of Wilder.
And not only that, remember, we haven't seen much of Jimmy Giles, the great tight end, the all-pro tight end, number 88 for the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's also a weapon. He catches the ball in intermediate patterns. He can also go deep.
Haven't seen much. He hasn't caught a ball. Ricardo. Michael Morton. If he gets a block, the Bucks have got great field position. Up at the 38-yard line. That was the return that they needed. Carl Lee came in there for the Minnesota Vikings. 45 seconds left to go in this first half. There's the Minnesota Vikings scoring drive, a 37-yard field goal by Benny Ricardo.
And now it's time for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers not to squander away an opportunity. They have good field position. The second-year man out of Nevada, Las Vegas, Michael Morton, gave him good field position almost at the 40-yard line. They need about 30 yards to get into field goal range.
Theo Bell out wide to the left side. Kevin House is in the slot. That means Gerald Carter deployed to the top of your screen. Vikings now in man-to-man. Thompson looks to set up the screen and is almost intercepted. Doug Martin in his 4th year out of Washington, a first-round draft pick back in 1980, and he is 6'3", 255, but he must have looked like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at that point to Jack Thompson.
Well, Jack Thompson, I mean, this ball just doesn't get up high enough. The screen was set up. He waits. Actually, Martin was blocked for a moment. He had a delay. Then he saw Thompson throw and went up for it, almost intercepted it.
And you saw all the padding on his hands. Those defensive linemen just not accustomed. They can bat the ball down, but they're not accustomed to handling the football. 2nd and 10, Tampa Bay, 39-yard line, their own 39. This play will go nowhere. Back to the 40, maybe the 40.5. James Wilder. And the Buccaneer fans, decked out in their orange slickers right now as the rains come down, are letting a few boos come down.
What they're booing is they saw a running play. But what the Tampa Bay and Jack Thompson were trying to do was to spring it back up the middle quickly. They had 4-man rush for the Minnesota Vikings. If they can get the back into the secondary in a hurry, he might break it to field, but to get a good game to put him in field goal position.
Tampa Bay with 1 timeout remaining. 31 seconds left to go as you look at the Buccaneer brain trust over on the sideline. Coming up at halftime, John Dockery talks with former Buccaneers quarterback Doug Williams on his decision not to sign with Tampa Bay and defect to the USFL. We'll have scores and highlights from around the NFL today, and one of the great NFL legends, Charlie Connerly.
And Doug Williams was very clear and outspoken on his feelings about leaving Tampa Bay and going to the other football league. I think you'll enjoy hearing it, folks. But right now, the ball is in Jack Thompson's court.
You've got an interesting situation, too, now, Doc, with 3rd and 8, because if they don't pick up the first down, the ball goes back over to the Vikings. The book on Jack Thompson. That'll be close to first down yardage. It'll depend on where they spot it. Gerald Carter, and you can see he wants to know where they're going to spot the football.
Fourth down. They're in their hurry-up offense. I wonder if they realize what's happening. They're going to try and run a play and get the first down.
Fourth and less than a yard. They're down to 8 seconds. They still had one timeout left. Flag on the play. Open man was Andre Tyler. This, after we check the penalty call, will be the final play of the first half. It's probably going to be holding against Tampa Bay. It is. And so the half will end. The Vikings have a touchdown toss of 8 yards from Tommy Kramer to Terry LeCount, and 2 field goals from Benny Ricardo of 28 and 37 yards. Tampa Bay has a touchdown, a missed extra point, and a missed field goal. That's the end of the first half with the score. The Minnesota Vikings 13, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 6.
Pearl. It beautifies and protects rubber, vinyl, leather, and plastic.
Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to Tampa Stadium here in Tampa, Florida. Our halftime score, the Vikings 13, the Buccaneers 6. And there's how we got there. Early in the football game, it was all Tommy Kramer, Doc.
And the first quarter was all the Minnesota Vikings. They had the ball for 11 minutes. They were ahead 7-0. Tampa only with the ball for 4 minutes. Tampa Bay came back some in the second quarter. And you see the total yards now, 175 for Minnesota, 131 for Tampa. The time of possession starting to even out, and you can sense the momentum change. Minnesota in the first quarter. Second quarter, Tampa got it back for a while, but they weren't able to capitalize on that last drive, Jim.
Well, you actually saw the momentum change, I think, John, in 2 different plays. The first one, when Washington pulled down Tommy Kramer, and one of the NFC's premier passers had to leave with a knee injury. He will not be back at all in the second half. That is the official word now from the Viking bench, which leaves it in the still very capable hands of Steve Dills, but Steve Dills is certainly not a Tommy Kramer. Now, then the momentum swung again on the rather poor punt by Coleman, which set up Tampa Bay in great field position, and the Bucs marched right down and scored, and were right back in the football game.
And when Tommy Kramer left, he was hot. He was 8 for 8 and 78 yards, 1 touchdown. So Kramer was on a roll, and so were the Minnesota Vikings. They got stalled a little bit when he was hurt. Exactly, Jim.
You're looking at the University of Florida marching band, one of the premier bands in the country, and now you're looking at the Orange Slickers here on Orange Day at Tampa Stadium. The band and the stadium will be here for Super Bowl 18, and so will CBS Sports. Don't forget, still to come, John Dockery talks with Doug Williams, former Tampa Bay quarterback and one of the legends of the game, Charles Connerly. Stay tuned as the NFL Today continues after this word from your local station. We are back at Tampa Bay. As you look at the skyline, our halftime score, the Vikings by 7 against the Buccaneers, who missed an extra point and missed a field goal. He wore number 12, Doug Williams. He was 6'4", 220 pounds, a top draft pick out of Grambling, and he led the Buccaneers into the playoffs 3 of the 5 years he was here with Tampa Bay. But he has signed on with the United States Football League. He decided not to rejoin Tampa Bay. And John Dockery earlier today talked with number 12, and he indeed found out there is life after Tampa Bay.
This morning, Doug Williams came back to Tampa Stadium. A hero returned. Only this time the stadium was empty and Doug Williams was not in uniform. He is a man bitter over the negotiations which he says forced him to defect to the other league, more on principle than for money. For 5 years, Doug Williams electrified the crowds here, a quarterback who at any given moment could make a touchdown happen. But he also shocked the football world when he signed with the other league.
So I think I did everything I possibly could to try to work out an agreement. The only thing I can say, if I had a chance, I would have talked with a team like Oakland and a couple other teams and told them, to be honest with you, I would have played for Oakland for $400,000. You know, for 5 years, you know, a lot of people say I did John McKay wrong because he took up for me. But I felt like John McKay patted me on my back. But at the same token, on Sunday evenings, I patted John McKay on his back. I thought when the final analysis came down, when it come time to put up time, a lot of people didn't put up.
1st and 10 for Tampa Bay from the 35-yard line.
This year, chaos has reigned at quarterback. It's been a game of musical chairs. First Goldstein, now Thompson. An offense that just can't seem to find the end zone.
Looks to the sideline. 5 sideline throws. Intercepted by Detroit.
I think I did best as get the respect of the team. I think they rallied behind me. I think the whole team felt like if it was close, Doug Williams could do something to bring it through.
You know, in a way, that might have a positive effect, and maybe it hasn't happened yet, Doug. The fact that they can't look to you as a guy who will be the offense, maybe will make 11 guys play on offense.
Well, I think that's what's going to happen. Somebody got to rise to the occasion, and somebody got to let them know that, hey, you all going to have to depend on me to do some certain thing. And I think once the team gets that respect behind that certain player or those players, it's going to be a different team.
Yes, but they will always remember the scrambling man from Grambling, a quarterback who at times carried the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on his broad shoulders, an awesome talent with a rifle arm.
I feel like as the season go on, they're going to remember Doug Williams, but as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers continue to play, Doug Williams going to wander into the sunset. If I get a chance to go back in the NFL, I would be the first one to jump to it, but I certainly wouldn't want to come back to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
There you see the record, Doug Williams at quarterback, and what Tampa Bay has done without Doug Williams at quarterback. Doug, whose younger brother Mike wanted to follow in his footsteps as a Grambling quarterback, now quarterbacks Edmonton in the CFFL. His father Robert, a veteran of World War II, and his mother Laura, a cook in a school lunchroom. The quarterback, of course, so important, and you take a look at what Tommy Kramer has done and meant to the Minnesota Vikings. Let's take a look at the touchdown toss here to Terry LeCount. On 3rd and 8, number 80 is Terry LeCount. Sammy White running the post pattern. LeCount down and then turned it back toward the flag. 8-yard scoring strike. Another look from the end zone now. A little play action fake by Tommy Kramer, and he puts it right on the money in the face of Hugh Green. That made it 7-0 in favor of the Minnesota Vikings. Then on a bootleg around the left side, Tommy Kramer, one of the NFC's top-rated passers, will roll out to the left side and watch Washington just about the time Kramer steps out of bounds. There goes Tommy on the bootleg. Almost the old naked reverse. Now Kramer comes up to avoid the pursuit. Washington is number 40. Watch the jersey and watch the right knee. The right knee pulled backwards, and then Kramer up over the top of Washington. They put ice on it right away. Kramer has left. Then after a bad punt by Coleman, James Owens goes up and over. The point after was no good, and that made it 10-6 in favor of the Minnesota Vikings. Benny Ricardo has added his second field goal. He connected from 28 and then from 37, and that's where we stand right now at the half. Minnesota up by 7, 13-6 against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So when we come back, we've got another Legends of the Game with Charles Johnson. We'll also have scores from around the NFL today. So stay with us. We're live from Tampa Bay. The Buccaneers are 0-2, looking for their first win of the year. The Vikings 1-1, looking to rebound from that 10-day defeat at the hands of the San Francisco 49ers. Welcome back to Tampa Stadium here in Tampa Bay. I'm Jim Kelly, along with John Dockery, former New York Jet, who wears one of those all-important and extremely coveted Super Bowl rings from 1969, the great game with Joe Namath. There is our score at halftime. The Vikings by 7, but it'll be a different game in the second half because Tommy Kramer will not be at the quarterback controls. It'll be Steve Dills. And with Tommy Kramer at the controls for Minnesota against Tampa Bay over the last 5 games, he's been 5-0. Steve Dills, in his only game in 1981 against the Tampa Bay Bucks, was a loser despite his sparkling personal performance. So Tampa Bay now has an opportunity. They're down by 1 touchdown. If they can hold Minnesota and get the ball back, they're at home, and Jack Thompson is the man who's on the line. His first start in the NFL in a couple of years, and there's Steve Dills on the other side. Jack Thompson, not a bad first half, 9 of 15 for 85 yards, had 1 pass intercepted. When you're talking about a Tommy Kramer, his quarterback rating in 1982 was 77.3, the best of Tommy's career. He threw for over 300 yards twice last year, and that's the 11th time that he threw for over 300 yards. When you talk about great Viking quarterbacks, Fran Tarkington only threw for over 300 yards 9 times. So you can see what a Tommy Kramer means to the passing offense of Bud Grant. We're just about set to tee it up from the 35. That is Bill Capice. Jarvis Redwine and Darren Nelson are back deep for the Minnesota Vikings. They lead 13-6 in the second half underway. Low end-over-end kick. Jarvis Redwine out of Nebraska fields at the goal line. Looks for the blocking. Breaks it on through to about the 17-yard line, and Minnesota on top by 7 starts 1st and 10 from that point.
First series, an all-important one, Jim. It sets the tempo of the game. Can the Tampa Bay defense shut down the Minnesota Vikings, give their offense good field position for Jack Thompson? All-important series for Steve Dills. Can he move that team, that multiple varied offense of Minnesota, the way Tommy Kramer can?
Steve Dills, coming into this football game, had attempted 7 passes, completed 3, and thrown 2 interceptions. That, of course, Viking fans recall, not pleasantly, against the 49ers 10 days ago.
And Steve Dills today is 3 of 9 for 49 yards.
Slot formation to the right side. Motion from the tight end. Darren Nelson. Dave Logan made the hit. Would you expect that Bud Grant would go to the running game a little bit more and try to take some of the pressure off of Steve Dills?
I'd be surprised. You're ahead by 1 touchdown. You're playing against the #1 rushing defense in the NFC. Yes, you do have Ted Brown. Yes, you do have some Darren Nelson, but you don't have a dominant power running back to control the football. You have to put it up. Of course, their passing game is a controlled passing game and very safe, Jim.
White to the top of your screen. LeCount to the bottom. 2nd and 7 for the Vikings. Play action. Dills drills it to Brewer, the tight end. He was open for a moment at the 30-yard line. Would have been a first down, but Hugh Green, hanging on the backside, kind of like a Bronco bull, slapped it away, and it'll bring up 3rd down and 7 for the Minnesota Vikings. Of course, when you talk about their tight end situation, usually you think about Joe Sensor, the outstanding tight end out of Westchester State. He is out with a knee injury, but Joe told us at the hotel last night he feels he's about 85% back, and he's expected back in about 2 weeks.
I've heard conflicting rumors. He's had a knee. He's been limping around. He may have lost some of his speed. Of course, a couple of years ago, he had that great year, Joe Sensor.
On the injured reserve list right now. 3rd and 7. Screen to the right side. Ted Brown's got a convoy. Chopped down by Jeremiah Castile, the rookie out of Alabama, and he prevented a first down.
And the man who made that play work, as well as it did work, was number 61, Wes Hamilton, who was out in front of Ted Brown. And it's going to be fairly close. It looks like he may be inches short. And then again, he may not.
By about the width of the chain.
By the hair on your chinny chin chin.
Maybe the pole. Interesting decision now for Bud Grant.
Bud's conservative. I'd be surprised to see him go. He's going to kick the ball away.
I don't think he's got a fake punt stored up in his little bag of tricks.
Greg Coleman is capable of it. He's a fine runner, and he's done it in the past. But Bud is a man, as we talked to him last night, who wants to keep games on an even keel. He doesn't believe in the emotional peaks and valleys that a lot of coaches do. And Greg Coleman having a tough afternoon, a 31-yard average, and 1 bad punt led to the score by Tampa Bay.
Andre Tyler is back deep. He's to the far side. Theo Bell to the near side, anticipating this punt. This one he didn't get all of either. Tyler will watch it sail out of bounds up near the 44-yard line. So good field position again, and joined by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. We've got 13-31, a kick of only 29 yards. It's 13-6. Tampa Bay coming back against the Vikings early in the 3rd quarter. Not exactly Florida Chamber of Commerce weather. But mild by Minnesota standards, huh?
And not a rain that should affect the game very much. It's very light. The ball is dried off after every play. Shouldn't be a problem.
Probably beautiful in Bloomington and Minneapolis today, right? They're out golfing and riding horses and watching the Vikings. 13-6, Minnesota on top. 1st and 10, Tampa Bay. Jack Thompson. Maybe back to the line of scrimmage goes James Owens. Number 62 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Sean Farrell, second-year right guard out of Penn State, pulled hamstring, checking with their bench now to find out if he'll be back. His place is taken by a 4-year backup, Jim Leonard, out of Santa Clara, 7th-round draft pick.
And it's interesting that John McKay said he was the only player who hadn't been hurt in the offensive line. Now Farrell gets a hamstring, and he's hurt also.
Wide receivers left and right for Thompson. 2nd down and 9. Tampa Bay down by 7. Safety valve. Good catch by Jimmy Wilder. 1st down, Buccaneers.
Don't be surprised when you see Wilder catch the ball. Last year he caught 53 passes for almost 500 yards. This is a tough catch and a tough throw because of the angle, and Thompson threw over a big defensive lineman.
Willie Teal came up to make the tackle. Willie in his 4th year out of LSU. So the line of scrimmage now down to the Minnesota 44-yard line. And frankly, since Tommy Kramer left the football game and the first bad punt by Greg Coleman, the Vikings have been flat. Blitz. And they break it. A good read by the offensive line and a tremendous surge on the left side. Dave Revis, George Yarno opened up a huge hole for James Wilder.
And you have to be surprised with all the injuries on the offensive line to Tampa Bay. You wouldn't think they'd be able to do this to a good defensive line of the Minnesota Vikings. That time you saw 2 tight ends reminiscent of Washington winning the Super Bowl, giving Riggins the ball. He assigned 2 tight ends, running it down the throat of the Miami Dolphins.
Line of scrimmage now the 35. Kevin House to the top of your screen and Gerald Carter to the near side. Jack Thompson 10 of 16, 97 yards. 2nd and short. This is a good time to go up top. They'll stay conservative. 1st down, though, for the Buccaneers, down near inside the 30. James Wilder got the call again. It's interesting on 2nd and short like that. That would have been a perfect time for play action. Maybe air it out and try to spring Kevin House for the tying touchdown. John McKay told you at the Buccaneers workout the other morning, he thought they played much too conservatively in Chicago. They have stayed conservative, despite the fact Thompson now is approaching 100 yards passing.
I think one of the most revealing comments that John McKay made earlier in the season was that our quarterbacks will not lose football games for us. He didn't say they'd win them, but he said they wouldn't lose it.
Theo Bell and Kevin House to the left side. Pitch back. James Owens, he's got the touchdown. Slithers forward across the 29 down to the 28. Matt Blair, the 10-year veteran out of Iowa State. 1,164 tackles in his career. That's a lot of helmet bang.
Oh, he is a great one. 6 straight Pro Bowls for number 59, Matt Blair. As you look at James Owens having a good afternoon.
And somehow when you think of the Vikings teams in years gone by, the great Bud Grant team, you think of Matt Blair always getting through and blocking the field goal somewhere along the line. Wilder bounces off a couple of the Vikings and bowls his way down to the 22. Randy Holloway in his 6th year out of Pittsburgh made the tackle secure. Approaching the 10-minute mark of the 3rd quarter now, and almost the reverse of the opening quarter. In the 1st quarter, Tampa Bay had 3 plays and a punt. The Vikings went down to score. This time Tampa Bay kicked off. Minnesota had 3 plays and a punt, and Tampa Bay is driving. Owens now 10 carries for 35 yards. 3rd, let's call it a long yard and a half. Jimmy Giles now lines up as a flanker, and they'll throw for it. And Thompson threw it outside. The receiver, Theo Bell, went inside.
And he had James Wilder circling out of the backfield wide open with some running room. Just a mix-up. Jack Thompson starting his first game, obviously getting a feel for the offense. He only came over from Cincinnati this year. He came over for a preseason, which was a pretty good one for him. That time just a mix-up.
And the fans that are booing, they don't know whether Thompson threw the ball to the wrong spot or the receiver ran the wrong route. Andre Tyler, 81, will hold. Bill Capice will try a 40-yard field goal try. He missed from 43 earlier. This to pull Tampa Bay to within 4. Bill Capice, and he's got it.
Bad snap. Good hold by Tyler, who got it down. Capice puts it through.
So 9:33 left to go in this third quarter. A 40-yard field goal by Bill Capice. The Vikings 13, Tampa Bay coming back 9. The Tampa Bay scoring drive, a 40-yard field goal by Bill Capice. Jarvis Redwine will run it out. He's got 6 Vikings in front of him. Look out, he explodes across the 25. One more block and Jarvis Redwine would have gone coast to coast.
You've heard of the old flying wedge. Boy, did he have blockers in front of him. What a convoy. And Redwine didn't waste any time getting up there behind him. Good field position.
In his third year, boy, he had some great games for Tom Osborne at Nebraska. Back-to-back 1,000-yard rushing seasons for the Cornhuskers. The second Nebraska running back to do it. Again, the Tampa Bay scoring drive. Bill Capice, 40 yards out, has pulled Tampa Bay back to within 4. Steve Dills and the Vikings offense now got to get something going. They've been shut down since Tommy Kramer left. Motion by Brewer, the tight end. Dills gives off to Teddy Brown, and you can see the Tampa Bay defense swarming again. Jeff Davis, second year out of Clemson. Dave Logan, 5th year out of Pittsburgh.
Remember the first time Minnesota got the ball after the half? Tampa Bay defense shut them down. Coleman's punt was a bad one. Tampa got it back, got a field goal. Somebody on the Minnesota Viking offense, namely the quarterback, Steve Dills, is going to have to make something happen.
Boy, you know, Bud Grant looks around. He sees Tommy Kramer on the sideline, Joe Sensor, Sam McCullen, Steve Jordan, Tim Irwin, Joey Browner all came into this game injured. 2nd and 7 for Dills and the Vikings. Motion by Brewer. He looks the other way. Post pattern. Now outside is Terry LeCount at midfield. 6th year out of Florida. Good reception. And that time he simply turned around the cornerback, Cedric Brown, in his 7th year out of Kent State. Watch the pattern by LeCount. First it looks like a post pattern inside, and then he goes back the other way.
And both linebackers were up covering the back. That also, you see Brantley there, number 52. He should have been deeper to help out on that out pattern. He wasn't, therefore it's complete.
Sammy White has been relatively quiet so far this afternoon. Both Kramer and Dills going to LeCount. Sammy White, over 340 career receptions, 45 touchdowns. 8th year out of Grambling. To the top of your screen, LeCount to the bottom. Play action wide open, and the ball is batted loose and almost picked off. That was a fine defensive play by number 78 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That is John Cannon out of William and Mary, because otherwise LeCount on a simple down and out pattern. John Dockery was wide open.
Although John Holt was settling a little bit, one of these times, if the Tampa Bay Buck defensive line doesn't get a rush, the defensive backs might be hung out to dry. Last week against San Francisco, the San Francisco team said Kramer and Minnesota does not go deep. So the defensive backs settled. They intercepted some balls. Same thing is happening today. Minnesota has not gone deep on Tampa.
But you do see the Vikings going to more and more play action right now, trying to hold the front 4, the front 3, and the linebacking corps. The Bucs show blitz again. And they're coming. Darren Nelson, big hole right side. Down to the 42, but still shy of first down yardage. Blocking up front on that right side by Wes Hamilton and Tim Irwin.
A couple of ways to neutralize a blitz. You can throw screen passes. You can throw a quick trap. Hope to get a quick back like Darren Nelson into the secondary. Hope you'll break it. Good recovery by Tampa Bay because they were coming.
And you saw the good block to the left side of the screen by number 23, Teddy Brown, as well.
Teddy Brown does it all. It's interesting. He was on a weightlifting program in the offseason, and he's stronger, more durable, and maybe even a few pounds lighter. Teddy Brown, number 23.
Short yardage situation for the Vikings. Double tight end alignment, running back, and it's Ted Brown behind Ricky Young. He approaches the 40 and is thrown backwards. It all depends where Jeff Davis was able to stop him. Viking fans obviously feel they stopped him shy of the 40-yard line. Dick Jorgensen, the referee, will have the final say. He wants the change.
What the Minnesota Vikings lack is a big, bruising fullback like a John Riggins who'll get you that short yardage and first down. They just don't have that kind of a back. Ted Brown is more of an impact back, Jim. That's the byword in the NFL these days. A guy with good strength and good power, but not an oversized back.
Interesting play call now for Bud Grant. 4th and less than the length of a football. Sweep right. Flag is down. This might be holding against the Vikings. David Huffman, 56, I believe, will be called for holding, and he is livid at the referee right now. That is a very difficult call.
4th and 1. Bud Grant wanted to get the momentum back on his side. He went for it. They had it, but a penalty.
So you won't go for it now on 4th and 10. Huffman in his 5th year out of Notre Dame.
Number 56, offense, still 4th down.
So we'll see Greg Coleman, whose last punt only went 29 yards. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get a big break there because Ted Brown had picked up the first down. So we've got 7:16 left to go in the 3rd quarter. And the Vikings clinging to what is turning out to be a very precarious 4-point lead. 13-9. Theo Bell, Andre Tyler back deep. And every time Coleman has punted so far this afternoon, his average has gone down, down, and down. Needs to get away a good one here. Did not. Out of bounds at the 31. Line of scrimmage was the 50. That's a 19-yard punt. This is not a typical day for Greg Coleman. 7:09 left to go in this 3rd quarter. The Bucs on the comeback trail. The Vikings have done nothing since Tommy Kramer went down. 13-9. Minnesota leads by 4. It'll be the Bucs' ball when we return. From high atop Tampa Stadium, the home of Super Bowl 18, which you'll see here on CBS. You look at the Bucs now, who trail by 4 and start 1st and 10 from their own 30-yard line. Jack Thompson is going all the way, quarterback for Tampa Bay. Inside handoff goes to James Wilder. Crosses the 30, maybe gets back to the line of scrimmage before the 9-year veteran, the right defensive end from Colorado State, Mark Mullaney, a first-round draft pick back in '75, stood him up. And that's Mullaney, who's getting up slowly, number 77. And behind him is Doug Martin, number 79. Martin in his 4th year out of Washington, the number 1 draft pick back in 1980.
And he'd been a loss for Minnesota. He was all NFL in '82 and had led the team in sacks with 10.5. Of course, Randy Holloway, the 6th-year man out of Pittsburgh, is a very capable replacement. You remember him, number 1 draft choice back in 1978.
Next Sunday, we'll have another NFL doubleheader for you here on CBS. The first game most of you will see, the New Orleans Saints against the Dallas Cowboys. Now, the Saints have beaten the Cowboys only once in their history. That was way back 12 years ago. But with Bum Phillips now the coach, Kenny Stabler rejuvenated in New Orleans, leading a much improved Saints squad. New Orleans should be a real test for the Dallas Cowboys, who've got their hands full with the New York Giants this afternoon. The second game will feature the Los Angeles Rams, who lost on a field goal with 1 second left at Milwaukee to the Packers this afternoon. The Rams, of course, with their first-year coach, Johnny Robinson, first year in the pros, and rookie sensation Eric Dickerson out of the Pony Express, running back of SMU, and the New York Jets, who lost up at Foxborough to the New England Patriots today. And, of course, the Jets with the sack exchange. It all starts with the NFL today at 12:30 Eastern Time next Sunday on CBS Sports. What's going on down in Dallas?
Dallas leads the New York Giants 14-10. Butch Woolfolk, a touchdown run.
2nd down and 8 now for Jack Thompson. Play action. Way up top. Intercepted by the Minnesota Vikings, John Swain out of Miami of Florida, the 4th-round draft pick. Back in 1981, comes up with the INT. The ball was intended for Kevin House, but Swain had his radar guns tracking and followed that one the whole way.
Jack Thompson told me he likes to throw the ball uptown, even if he doesn't complete it because it loosens up a secondary. Here, he just threw it up for grabs. Swain was way deep. House had no chance. The interception, 2nd one of the game for Jack Thompson.
John Turner's interception led to a field goal by Benny Ricardo. The Vikings clinging to that 4-point lead. 6.5 to go, 3rd quarter. It's Orange Sunday here at Tampa Bay. The orange slickers, orange articles of clothing, and the Bucs gave away orange visors to all their fans. 1st and 10 for the Minnesota Vikings. Darren Nelson wide to the left side. White in the count to the right. Dills gives the ball off to Teddy Brown. He's got a block on the left side. Breaks it across the 25, up to the 29 before Mike Washington chased him down. Let's check in around the NFL today at Mile High Stadium in Denver. Steve DeBerg or John Elway. In any event, the Eagles led 7-0. It's now 7-3 in the 3rd quarter. And, of course, the Denver Broncos, one of the 5 previously undefeated teams in the NFL, going into action today. The Dallas Cowboys, who we told you many of you will see next week against the New Orleans Saints, have a 4-point lead. And right now, Seattle, Chuck Knox in his home debut with the Seahawks really sticking it to the San Diego Chargers, whose defense severely tested. 2nd and 5. Pull over the right side, closed off before they got the first down. Teddy Brown gets the call again, and Scott Brantley made the stop again. You don't think he's going to have a few black and blue marks when he gets into the shower later on, do you, Doc?
Teddy Brown is used to it, though. He has been the leading ball carrier receiver for the Minnesota Vikings for the last 5 years. #1 draft choice, 1979 out of North Carolina State. He wants the ball, Jim.
This guy play with you on the Jets team back in '69? Teddy Brown now 17 carries, 65 yards. About a half yard to go for a Viking first down here on 3rd and short. So you see what Minnesota's done on 3rd down tries. Double tight end alignment. Steve Dills, first down for the Vikings, right over the center. Bud Grant. You know, talking with him last night at the hotel, he just wanted no reference at all to that San Francisco 49er game. That's about the furthest thing from his mind.
It's gone and past. It's something that happened. It's over. Of course, John McKay trying to get on the track here. His team 0-2. An 0-3 start in the division would be a rough beginning.
I-pro setting out for the Vikings, 1st and 10 from their own 35. Looks like it might have been a busted play. Dills turned around and there was nobody there. The only man in the backfield was the tight end Brewer. John Cannon came up and chopped him down around the ankles. From Cowboy country, the New York Giants have scored again, and they have got a field goal now, and they have pulled to within 1 point over the Dallas Cowboys. And don't forget, next week here on CBS Sports, the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints. Right here on CBS Sports, it all starts with the NFL Today with Brent, Irv, Phyllis the Greek, and everybody back at the NFL Today. Right now, time winding down, 3rd quarter. The Vikings on a bit of a drive. And they've got to work on that clock and maybe put an extra couple of points up on the board right now. Look out. Unloads to Ricky Young. Near midfield, chased down by Jeff Davis. Now, if Davis doesn't chase down Ricky Young, it's touchdown Minnesota. Steve Dills never saw it. He was in the grasp of Hugh Green and Neil Colsey.
What a good play by Davis. Jeff Davis, the 2nd-year man out of Clemson. Here, he just gets it off in time before he's clocked. And watch his speed. Look at that. Pulls down Ricky Young. Watch the ISO. This is a classic. The backside of the backfield. He has an option to go either way. And he does. It's and actually, that's Andy Hawkins, number 59, who pulls him down. And the back has an option on the linebacker. He can go inside or outside. The quarterback must read that time Young. Chose right for the completion. 3 receptions.
Darren Nelson from behind, pulled down on a great defensive play by Hugh Green, All-American out of Pittsburgh and winner of the Lombardi Trophy.
It's interesting, Hugh Green, I mean, what can you say about him? All-Pro last year. John McKay said the only problem with Hugh Green is that he's not twins. And Bud Grant talking about Hugh Green, he said, my goodness, Hugh Green is all-world at linebacker. He's much like Lawrence Taylor, kind of active linebacker that makes things happen. That time you saw his speed pulling down Darren Nelson, one of the quickest backs in the league, from behind.
If you're a defensive coach, I guess you just love to look up and see a Hugh Green and a Leroy Selman there. 2.5 to go, 3rd quarter, 2nd and 10 for the Vikings. Slot formation to the left side. Ricky Young, Darren Nelson, now the running backs. Ted Brown gets a rest. Dills. Look out. And that time a great defensive play by the offensive receiver, Sammy White. Batted the ball out of the waiting arms of Neil Colsey. Colsey was seeing INT all the way, and watch Sammy White come back and actually turn in to be the defender.
Exactly. That's where a receiver becomes a defensive back. See him come underneath, just the way a defensive back was. He doesn't put his hand on Neil Colsey either. Good play by Sammy White to break up the interception. Steve Dills, I mean, he's off his rhythm. He's throwing the ball poorly. He's feeling the pressure from the Tampa Bay defense.
You saw number 87 check in for the Minnesota Vikings. That is Leo Lewis, free agent out of Missouri. Dills now 6 of 15 for 85 yards. Needs a big first down here and needs 9 yards to get it. Shotgun formation for the Vikes. Sammy White in motion. Dills all kinds of time, misses a wide open Terry LeCount. And again, the Tampa Bay defense is held. Pressure on the passer, Steve Dills, from Leroy Selman. Now, Leroy came charging through. He's only 6'3" and 250. Must sound like a locomotive or a jet.
Also, pressure on the receivers. They were bounced around at the line of scrimmage by the Tampa Bay Buck defensive backs. Didn't allow them to run their pattern freely. Actually, White was trying to pick the LeCount coming across the middle. That's a telling graphic. 27-yard average for Greg Coleman.
Well, he's had one for 19, another for 29, another for 30. Needs to get all of this one. Aims for the right coffin corner. Sends up a high, wobbly kick that Andre Tyler will make a dangerous catch on at the 11-yard line. Now, that's not his fault. That's the responsibility of the up-back, John Dockery, to signal whether or not he should signal for that fair catch. A 39-yard punt. No return by Andre Tyler. 2:06 to go. Third quarter, Vikings lead Tampa Bay by 4. The Hurricanes of Miami have circled that date on their calendar. You should too. Live 9 o'clock Eastern time next Saturday here on CBS Sports. The Fighting Irish upset by Michigan State yesterday in just a whale of a football game. And the Hurricanes, they pulverized Purdue. That should be a dandy. You don't think Howard Schnellenberger's got his team pumped up for that one, do you?
And how about that freshman running back for Notre Dame, Hiawatha Francisco? God, they pull him out of the woodwork.
2:06 to go. Third quarter, Tampa Bay down by 4. Vikings defense trying to make something happen, and they did with a great play right there. James Owens, stacked up by Charlie Johnson in his 7th year out of Colorado, came over to the Vikings from the Philadelphia Eagles, and he was like a man, well, kind of like a Renaissance man, Doc.
He was so happy to come here. He felt he was going to suffer from burnout in Philadelphia. He would play every play at nose guard, be blocked by 2 or 3 guys, and he felt his career was going to be over early. But remember Bud Grant telling us that Charlie Johnson, just by his stature as a player, has helped to settle down that defensive line and improve it.
2nd and 11, loss of 1. Motion from the tight end, Obradovic. Thompson unloads a bad ball to a wide-open Gerald Carter at the 20-yard line.
You hear the boos. People in Tampa, they're hungry for a win. They're 0-2, and Thompson just didn't set up. Carter was open. All he did was go out about 8 yards and hook. Thompson wasn't ready to threw it into the ground.
Well, you know, it's always a telling sign if you're the quarterback. If those feet are moving, you're not in position to throw the football. That means you're unsure. You're not clear exactly where you want to go. That time he held onto the football too long.
Speaking of feet, some people criticize Jack Thompson as not having quick feet and a quick sit-up.
3rd and 11. Be careful time now for Tampa Bay. They don't want to turn it over to the Vikings here. Blitz is on. Unloads wide open Kevin House, and he missed him at the 33. Gerald Carter on a crossing pattern, and coverage down underneath by number 27, John Turner, in his 6th year out of Miami of Florida, a 2nd-round draft pick. So now the Vikings get a break on field position after Tampa Bay stalls 3 plays and a punt. And that man, John McKay, has said he's going all the way with a throwing Samoan this afternoon. He is the quarterback. There'll be no changing and yanking him and maybe going to a Jerry Goldstein. Frank Garcia back to punt. Rufus Bess should give the Vikings good field position. He's inside Tampa Bay territory. Good kick by Garcia. Backs Rufus Bess up about 12 yards. Gets it back maybe to the 47. Danny Spradlin came over from the Cowboys down there on the coverage. A 50-yard punt by Frank Garcia, an 8-yard return, and there are Tampa Bay bodies all over the field. 44 is Dwayne Osteen, 6th year out of San Jose State, and he is down at the 43-yard line. So the Vikings will start 1st and 10 from their own 47. They've got a 4-point lead. 1:08 left to go in the 3rd quarter. Keep in mind they've gone most of this football game without Tommy Kramer. There you look at the Sea of Orange on Orange Sunday Day, the 3rd one in the Tampa Bay Bucks history. The first against the Vikings, ironically enough, back in '78, then against the Saints in '79, where they encouraged all of their fans to show up wearing orange. Of course, they didn't encourage them to bring the orange rain slickers, but they gave away visors at the start of the game, and they will also donate 25 cents to the Ronald McDonald All Children's Hospital Fund for every orange soft drink that is sold here this afternoon. Be sure he didn't play with you on the Jets.
Looks like the outfit you wore yesterday.
First and 10 for the Minnesota Vikings. Steve Dills brings them out. Running backs are Ricky Young and Ted Brown. That's Brewer, the tight end, in motion to the top. Teddy Brown needed a couple of blocks, got one to turn the corner, needed one more. LeCount missed his man, but John Holt came up and made the tackle on that man. Boy, he has really been a workhorse, and there's a flag down.
And I think they're going to bring it back. Preliminary call was holding. He's going to talk to Leroy Selman. And Leroy says, we'll take it. Let's move him back. Let's get that ball back. Interesting, Jim. At this point, this game is up for grabs. First quarter, it was Minnesota and Tommy Kramer. He got hurt. Steve Dills came on, couldn't do anything. Jack Thompson got hot. Tampa Bay came back. Third quarter.
6. It's still first down.
76, Tim Irvin, third-year right tackle out of Tennessee, and the concern of Bud Grant. A 4-point Minnesota lead. Tampa Bay has an 8-yard scoring strike from Tommy Kramer to Terry LeCount, and 2 field goals by Benny Ricardo, 28 and 37 yards. Wide receivers left and right now. Backs are split. Ted Brown and Ricky Young. On first and 20, wide open, Bob Brewer, and Dills drilled it at midfield. Picks up 13, brings up 2nd and 7. John Holt on the coverage, but Dills really drilled the ball. You can't throw it much better than that.
Bob Brewer in a long line of Minnesota tight ends. Bob Tucker, Stu Voigt, the kind of guys that will go out 7 or 8 yards, hook, and get you that first down. But not a threat. Joe Sensor changes the offense. It's more of a traditional offense and more of a traditional tight end play with a guy like Brewer in there versus a Joe Sensor who's more of a Kellen Winslow type who can open up a defense and go downtown and catch the long ball.
Joe Sensor is almost like a wide receiver. Blitz is on. Underneath, the ball overthrown by Dills, looking for Brewer again. Now, that's an automatic read between the tight end and the quarterback. And as soon as Dills saw the blitz, he knew exactly where Brewer would be underneath the linebacker.
Exactly right. He read it well. Tough throw for a quarterback because the tight end is so close to you. It's tough to have touch because the men are in your face. I think Dills flicked it a little too hard for Brewer then, though he still should have caught the ball.
Time left in the third quarter, both the Vikings and Tampa Bay with all 3 timeouts remaining. 3rd down and 7 at midfield. Terry LeCount and Sammy White deployed to the left side. Leo Lewis to the right side now. Motion by Brewer, the tight end. Dills needs 7. Looks to the near sideline. Bad ball. Looking for Leo Lewis. And that wasn't Dills' fault because pressure was put on by Leroy Selman, who just ran right over Tim Irvin.
And Dills had to get rid of the ball before he wanted to. The receiver hadn't made his cut yet. Dills had to unload it before Leroy Selman unloaded on him. Tough afternoon for Steve Dills.
Not helped at all, though, by the holding call, which backed them up 10 yards. So it's 4th and 7. And Greg Coleman, who got away a pretty good kick the last time, will try to duplicate that feat. Andre Tyler is back to the far side. Theo Bell to the near side. 14 seconds. Left to go, third quarter. Coleman this time nails a beauty. And it sails on in. You can hear the groan of the Buck fans there because Theo Bell, a little indecisive, didn't know whether he wanted to field the ball at the 10 because he knew he was going to be hit, or take a chance on it rolling into the end zone.
A rule of thumb generally for a defensive back is that you're standing on the 10-yard line. You don't want to drift very far back past that point to catch a punt. You'd rather see it hit and take a chance of going into the end zone. So Theo Bell, indecisive, yes, but I think a smart move.
Time remaining in the third quarter. Jack Thompson has gone all the way. He's 10 of 20 in the passing department, 97 yards. A 50-yard kick by Coleman. 1st and 10, Tampa Bay from their own 20-yard line. Barring a penalty, last play, third quarter, and wide open. Look out! Gerald Carter as the defender fell down. 1st and 10, Tampa Bay inside the 40-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. A 41-yard pickup. Take a look from the end zone and watch the defender fall down.
And give Jack Thompson credit because he threw it in between the short and deep defenders. Carter made the grab. Yes, the defender fell down. He cuts back inside. And it's a first down. Biggest play of the afternoon for Tampa Bay.
A 41-yard pickup. The Buccaneers on the short end by 4. Minnesota clinging to that 13-9 lead. That's the end of the third quarter with a score. The Vikings 13, Tampa Bay 9. Now a word from your local station. Welcome back to Tampa Stadium here in Tampa Bay. I'm Jim Kelly along with former New York Jet John Dockery as we start the fourth quarter now. Tampa Bay on a drive after a big pickup of 41 yards, sending wide receivers left and right. The lone running back is James Wilder. 1st and 10 for the Bucs. They trail by 4 from the 39. Flag is down on the play. Vikings defense stops up Jim Wilder at about the 38-yard line. But let's check the flag. Mark Mullaney, 9th year out of Colorado State, came up and made the hit on Wilder. Vikings continue to hurt themselves with penalties. One holding call negated a crucial drive after Steve Dills had given the ball off to Teddy Brown and he had rambled for an apparent first down. And now offside on 1st and 10, so the Buccaneers can accept the penalty. It'll be 1st and 5.
And this offside, number 79.
And Jim, you mentioned the game plan for Minnesota coming in was ball control offense to keep their defense off the field. They haven't played that well this season. Of course, last week it was a joke against the San Francisco 49ers.
Vikings have been penalized 5 times for 35 yards. Tampa Bay just once for 5. High pro set motion now from Kevin House. Pitch back. Jimmy Owens, he's got the touchdown dive, and he is chopped down by Dennis Johnson, 4th-year linebacker out of USC.
Bear in mind, Jim, we also haven't seen number 88 in orange. Jimmy Giles hasn't caught a pass this afternoon. Last week he had 7 catches for 80 yards coming back after that contract holdout. He's ready, and he's a great weapon, all-pro. Here's the stats for the third quarter. You see Minnesota leads 254 to 208 in total yards. Turnovers, that's been a problem for Tampa Bay. 2 interceptions by Jack Thompson. Time of possession in the favor of Minnesota.
2nd down and 5 for the Buccaneers. Play action. Thompson unloads. Flag is down in the backfield, and another flag goes down. There are 2 flags down. One in the backfield, which might be holding against Tampa Bay. Another all the way downfield. So Dick Jorgensen will have a bit of a conclave now and straighten things out. Holding. Tampa Bay. Pass interference. Tampa Bay. This should back him up to Clearwater.
Right.
You know, you talk about Jimmy Giles, 7 catches against the Bears. He has not had a ball thrown to him so far in the play-action offense of Jack Thompson and John McKay. And as we talked to Scott Studwell yesterday at the hotel, he said defensively he had 3 or 4 goals in mind for the Vikings. The first was to shut down Jimmy Giles, the second to shut down Kevin House, and the third just to try to contain James Wilder.
Exactly. And talking to Jimmy Giles, he expected to make hay as we listen to the call here.
We have a multiple foul, holding, 70, offense, decline, offensive pass interference, 87, accepted, 2nd down.
Either way, Jim, it sends Tampa Bay back. Now, Jimmy Giles expected to really do well under this new offense, a short control passing game with Thompson and Goldstein as the quarterbacks.
Wholesale substitutions very late by the Vikings now, as Tampa Bay had already broken their huddle. 2nd down, 15 to go. 6 defensive backs in for Minnesota. Jack Thompson near sideline. Got his man down to the 31-yard line. Kevin House. Shy of 1st down yardage by about 4 yards, however.
Good pickup. Doug Martin had a good rush here, but watch number 32, James Wilder. You see him put that block into Martin, gave Thompson time to complete the pass. Without that, Martin was in Thompson's face. There was no chance.
Might be the best ball that Jack Thompson has thrown so far, aside from that 41-yard pickup to Gerald Carter. 3rd down, 3 yards to go. Big play time for the offense of Tampa Bay, conversely for the defense of Minnesota. Slot to the left, eye pro set. Pitch back. James Owens dives across the 30. He will be very close to 1st down yardage. Owens also dove over for Tampa Bay's only touchdown. And right now it's in the hands of Dick Jorgensen, the referee, and where they spot that football. Matt Blair kind of submarine Owens and went underneath.
James Owens picked that hole. He was almost 9 yards deep in the eye. Gives you a great view of how the hole opens up. Just short of the 1st down.
By about the length of the football. Any doubt in your mind that John McKay will go for it here?
None whatsoever.
You know, 2 weeks ago when we talked to Coach McKay, we were kind of kidding him about already him being a legend. He said, wait a minute, to be a legend, you got to be dead. I don't want to be a legend just yet.
Or else win a Super Bowl.
3 tight ends in there now for Tampa Bay. Jimmy Giles, Jerry Bell, and Jim Obradovich. They need about the length of the football. Huge collision at the 29-yard line, but enough for James Owens to pick up the first down. Doug Martin and Matt Blair came up and tried to hit him, but I think as Owens was diving through, he kind of turned his body and missed the hit.
Exactly right. He was able to spin. What athletic ability. Spinning in midair. That extra spin didn't allow the defense to get a good straight hit. And he wiggled forward. Take a look at it again. He wiggled forward for the first down. Watch him launch himself here. He wants this badly. As he's up, he's able to spin, and that spin allowed him to get the extra half yard for the first down.
On first down, they'll throw for it, and they've got Owens looping out of the backfield, isolating the back one-on-one with a linebacker all the way down to the 22-yard line. Studwell came up along with Matt Blair, but not before Owens had picked up some big yardage again. Brings up 2nd down and 3.
A confident quarterback and a good offense throws on first down. You get the feel Jack Thompson is getting hot.
Thompson now 13 of 23, 157 yards, 2 interceptions. 12:04 left to go in this 4th quarter now. Tampa Bay on a drive going for the go-ahead touchdown. If they can get it, it would be the only time they led in the football game. James Wilder bounces off a couple of Vikings and bowls his way down inside the 20. They had him stopped back at the 21. Studwell hanging on. 77 Mullaney had a shot at him, and Wilder just ran right away from Mark, and it's down again close to first down yardage. Dick Jorgensen says chain gang, please. Well, there were 4, make that 5 undefeated teams. There are now 4 in the National Football League coming in. The Rams suffered their first loss at the hands of Green Bay with 1 second left to go. Jan Stenerud, a 41-yard field goal. Green Bay in Milwaukee, 27-24, handing John Robinson his first defeat as a pro coach. The Cowboys are undefeated. The Raiders and Dolphins are undefeated. And the Denver Broncos are undefeated going in. Last time we checked, Philadelphia was leading Denver 7-3 at Mile High Stadium. Raiders and Dolphins do battle tomorrow night on CBS Radio. And, of course, the Cowboys are playing at home against the New York Giants this afternoon. Many of you next week will see the Dallas Cowboys and the New Orleans Saints, and the New York Jets playing host to the Green Bay Packers. Jack Thompson has got all kinds of room. Does a Pete Rose slide down at the 11-yard line. Matt Blair made the tackle secure from ground level, Doc. And take a look at the pursuit breakdown.
The pursuit breakdown was pretty good offensive line blocking. There was a lot of room. Jack Thompson told me that he thought the rap on him as not being able to scramble was a bad one. He can do it when he has to. He said it came from his college days when he had a very small offensive line. He was taller than them all, so all he'd do was step back and drill the ball. He didn't have to scramble. He feels he can when he has to, then he did. There he did.
Big pickup of 7 yards on first down. Brings up 2nd and 3rd at the 11-yard line of the Minnesota Vikings. 13-9, Tampa Bay driving for a score here. Vikings defense coming with a blitz. They chop down Jimmy Owens at the 11-yard line. A short pickup of 1. It's 3rd and 2. And you talk about big plays in this football game. This one is coming up offensively and defensively.
And what do? You got the first down on 4th down only a few minutes ago. Do you go again? Do you run it into the line? And if you miss it, go for it on 4th down? Or do you take the field goal? John McKay's decision.
Well, I think it'd be a good time for play action right now because you've got to have the linebackers keying on a James Owens and a Jimmy Wilder. And you've got 3 tight ends in there, Obradovich, Bell, and Giles. Obviously, Giles with 7 catches against the Bears. He's the money man. He's the man you want to spring maybe on a post pattern over the middle.
It looks as though the way they're lining up, they're just going to pitch it to the tailback and try for the first down. Let him pick his hole.
Owens did not get first down yardage. James White, 8th year out of Oklahoma State. Mark Mullaney, 9th year out of Colorado State. And Owens, it'll be Cy about a half yard.
They're going to measure it, and it could be a rerun of a few moments ago when Owens spun over the top for the first down on 4th down.
Well, the fans are saying go, but the fans always want you to go for it.
They're not going to measure. He's short.
Play is being sent in. Sammy White, or check it, that is Mark Whitty. Mark Whitty, the rookie out of North Texas State. They need a long 2 feet here. Less than a yard, about 24 inches. And the crowd will tell you. Michael Morton.
The crowd thinks he got it. Jim, I'm amazed that you'd send in Michael Morton, all 5'8", 179 pounds, on a situation where you need inches for a first down, but it looks like it worked for John McKay.
Well, also, Morton had a fumble in the Bears game, which was very costly. Let's take another look at the surge on the left side. Watch Revis, Yarno, and Wilson, and watch the blocking on that right side now.
He's just picking a hole. He finds something. He keeps driving. The little man gets the first down. Gutsy effort. A gamble by McKay pays off.
Line of scrimmage now, the 7.5-yard line. That's Tampa's 3rd 4th down conversion of this football game. 3 tight ends are in there. Pitch back. Owen. They had him at the 11. He gets out of bounds at the 5.5. Matt Blair, also number 79, Doug Martin, had him stacked up back at the 11-yard line, but the speed of the former Bruin out of UCLA as he exploded around that right side and busted a tackle. He also was on the Olympic team back in '76 as a member of the 110-meter hurdle team.
He's got the speed. Right there, he jigger-stepped a little bit, tried to decide whether he'd go inside or outside, picked up a few yards before going out of bounds.
And, of course, what Tampa Bay is doing with the outside game is making Minnesota concentrate on that, and as soon as they do that, they'll punch Jimmy Wilder over the middle for a big game.
2 tight ends, Jim.
Wide open, Wilder, touchdown! That is Jack Thompson's first touchdown toss in the regular season for Tampa Bay.
I like the call. He's got the option. He finds Wilder out of the backfield. The tight end's going into the end zone. Wilder makes the catch. Touchdown. Tampa Bay on top. A strange position for them. Shut out the first game. Lost to Chicago 17-10 in the second game, and James Wilder.
Big extra point try. They've missed one. Andre Tyler will spot it down. Bill Capice will kick it on through, and he got it. So suddenly that 13-9 Minnesota advantage has been turned into a 16-3 Viking deficit. 8.5 minutes left to go in this football game. The Bucs lead it for the first time. The Vikings have done nothing since Tommy Kramer left. 16-13, Bucs by 3. Bill Capice, who has just put Tampa Bay in front by 3. Of course, it was a missed extra point, which is going to loom very large in this football game, because Tampa Bay should actually have a 17-13 advantage. Capice will tee it up at the 35. This is a short, wobbly kick that Darren Nelson will watch go out of bounds at the 10-yard line. Now, did they touch the ball and knock it out of bounds, or did it go out of bounds on its own impetus? That will be a crucial call.
The referee says it went out of bounds on its own impetus. It was very close.
John McKay and the Bucs and the Buck fans are saying, wait a minute, it looked to me like maybe Marty McDowell fell on the football at the 10-yard line and helped it get out of bounds. Now, that's Darren Nelson. There's McDowell.
No, he didn't touch it. He did not touch it. He kept his body around it, but he didn't touch it before it went out of bounds. It's a good call.
Great call by the official, member of Art McNally's team. Wonder what game Arthur is visiting today. Take a look at that Tampa Bay scoring drive. They went 80 yards in 13 plays, a couple of key 4th down pickups, of course. They used up over 6.5 minutes on the clock, and Jack Thompson, the throw-in Samoan, a 5-yard scoring strike to James Wilder. Thompson's first in the regular season with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and for James Wilder, his first touchdown reception of this year. He came into the game with 9 catches and 69 yards. That one a 5-yard scoring strike from Jack Thompson.
You have to give credit in that drive to the offensive line from Tampa Bay. A couple of short yardage situations, 4th and inches, they got the first down.
The Vikings hoping to get good field position now. Capice approaches at the 30 and booms this one high. End over end kick. Darren Nelson at the 16. To the 33. 1st and 10 for the Minnesota Vikings from that point. Keep in mind, of course, Tommy Kramer has been out since early in the second quarter, out with a knee injury, and is not expected to return at all. That's the word from the Viking bench. Since then, it has been an ineffective Steve Dills. Coming up next week here on CBS Sports, it all starts at 12:30 Eastern Time with Brent Musburger and all the NFL Today crew. And then many of you will see Bum Phillips' very much improved New Orleans Saints. They had an overtime win in the Superdome today. The Dallas Cowboys have got their hands full against the New York Giants right now. Rams lost in overtime to Green Bay. They will visit Shea Stadium in New York, where the Jets return 1-2 after being upset by the New England Patriots at Foxborough. Play action. Blitz is on. Darren Nelson down to the 37. Steve Dills had to unload that. Leroy Selman and Hugh Green putting all kinds of pressure on.
Boy, Steve Dills just got that off on time. Right after he throws, watch, he takes some hit. Gets the ball off to Darren Nelson, a quick pass. 78, John Cannon, a second-year man out of William and Mary. Let Steve Dills know that he's around. I'm here, Steve. Watch out next time.
7:40 and counting. Vikings trail for the first time in the football game by a field goal, 16-13. Slot formation to the right side. Motion now by Brewer, the tight end, comes back. Great catch up near first down yardage by Terry LeCount. He's got an 8-yard scoring strike from Tommy Kramer. Mike Washington, 8-year defensive back out of Alabama, trying to cover Terry LeCount. Now what you do, you give him a steady diet of those little down and outs, and all of a sudden either Terry LeCount or Sammy White is going to turn it back upfield, and the cornerback is going to be standing there having a nice chat with the tuba player. You make an assumption, though, that the offensive line will give you time to throw that ball. Terry LeCount, 5 catches now, 61 yards. Darren Nelson, in the grasp of a couple of Buccaneers, maybe got back to the line of scrimmage. David Logan was really the man who made that play, number 76. He broke through from his nose tackle position, got a piece of Darren Nelson, and then the rest of the Orange gang came. Watch the nose guard, number 76. He gets a hand right there on Nelson, spins him around, and then he's going to attract the crowd. Well, that shows you the strength, though, of the number 1 draft pick last year out of Stanford, Darren Nelson, who did well to hang on to the football. 6.5 and counting. Slot formation to the right side. LeCount and Sammy White. Dills now sets the Vikings on 2nd and 8. In the grasp of Leroy Selman. Kind of a strange pattern as you look at that one. They only had 2 receivers out. Sammy White running down a fly pattern down at about the 30-yard line of Tampa Bay. Terry LeCount was tied up. There was nobody else for Dills to throw to, and you can see the indecision. Watch the feet and watch the hands. And this was a 4-man rush. You might have seen number 65 go by your screen. Dave Stalls, he was in there. That gave Leroy Selman time. When Dills couldn't make a decision, started to run. Selman came from the outside with that great speed in pursuit. And Bud Graham has to be wondering, where is Tommy Kramer? Ooh. 3rd down and 9. Slot formation to the right side. Leo Lewis to the left side. Dills looking at a ferocious pass rush. At the 34-yard line, John Cannon again. He is going to be a good one. They are very high on him out of William and Mary. 14 solo tackles and 1 sack coming in. A 3rd-round draft pick, 6'5", 260. Watch number 78 from the left side of your screen, and now the right side. He just ran right over. Dennis Swilly, the center, number 67, couldn't contain him. Cannon, at 260 pounds, runs a 4.840. That's athletic ability in time. Greg Coleman, a busy and a long afternoon. Theo Bell awaits at the 25-yard line. Vikings defense, Coleman booms a beauty. Andre Tyler, who just watches it go into the end zone. Coleman made amends that time. A 65-yard punt. So we've got a timeout down on the field with 5:14 left to go in regulation. The Bucs lead the Vikings by a field goal. 1st and 10 Tampa when we come back. Welcome back to Tampa Stadium. We've got 5:14 left to go in regulation. We emphasize regulation because if the Vikings can get a field goal, don't go away. Could have another overtime. But right now, Tampa Bay will work on that clock. 1st and 10 from their own 20-yard line. Kevin House in motion, top of your screen. Pitch back. That is James Wilder. Chopped down, maybe back to the line of scrimmage, and nothing more. Rufus Bess in his 5th year out of South Carolina State, a free agent, 5'9", 185, came up. He strung the play along. Studwell came over, and Matt Blair and others.
And James Wilder, number 32 in orange, is a back, one of those all-purpose, unheralded backs. I mean, he's a guy that averaged 5.8 yards a carry every time he touched the ball last year. That was second only to William Andrews, who had 5.9 per time he catches the ball, average per time he catches the ball down in Atlanta. So you don't hear much about Wilder. He's a solid all-around back, Jim.
Minnesota Vikings defense must assert themselves here. Obviously, you don't want Tampa Bay to pick up even a first down because the way the offense of Minnesota is cluttered, they're going to need all kinds of time. Good pass by Jack Thompson at the 28-yard line, hitting Theo Bell on a simple curl-in pattern, and he will be about a yard shy of first down yardage. The man he turned it inside on, watch number 37, Willie Teal.
Nice flick of the strong arm here, a lot of wrist action. Bell couldn't do anything else but come back to the ball, or else Willie Teal would have defended against it.
A little bit surprised, and you being a former cornerback and safety back, we can talk about this. At this stage of the football game, you can't lay off those receivers. You got to be much more aggressive, John Dockery.
It's gambling time. The game's on the line. You're down by 3. There's 3 minutes left, 3.5 minutes.
If they pick up the first down here, they can work on the clock again. First down for the Buccaneers. James Owens went underneath. Mark Mullaney made the tackle. Now, interesting. You've got to watch that clock. 3:40 and counting. Tampa Bay has all 3 timeouts left, as do the Minnesota Vikings. There's the situation. But you've got to figure that even if they can hold them on 3 downs here, it'll be under 2 minutes to go. Jack Thompson in the passing department, 15 of 25, 171 yards, 2 interceptions, but the go-ahead touchdown. Carter wide to the left side, House to the near side. Wilder maybe loses a yard. Doug Martin had him in his grasp. Inside of 3 minutes, about 2.5 when the ball will be snapped next.
And Jim, this is, I think, before it's over, Jack Thompson's going to have to put the ball up just the way he did a few minutes ago. Tampa Bay, not a great rushing team. They're only averaging 73 yards a game on the ground in their first 2 games. So they are not a dominant rushing team. They're going to have problems holding on to the ball on the ground.
Well, you know, if you're a Viking fan and you're thinking this is the game situation, you might not be concerned. 60 minutes following football here on CBS. It's the season premiere, and even if we do have overtime, 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety. Looping it out of bounds, just getting rid of the ball in the general direction of James Wilder was Jack Thompson, pressure by Randy Holloway. Let's check in at Texas Stadium now and see what's going on between the Cowboys and the New York Giants. The last time we looked, the Giants were in front, and now they have fallen behind by 8 points. They are in the 4th quarter. Dallas leading by 8. They've got 3 touchdowns. The last one, a Dexter Clinksdale interception of 68 yards. And, of course, Dallas will be playing the New Orleans Saints next week, and many of you will enjoy that game here on CBS as part of our doubleheader Sunday. It's 3rd and 11, and be careful time now for Tampa Bay. They don't want to turn the ball over here. James Wilder breaks 1 tackle, almost broke 2 up near the 36, but shy of first down yardage in the grasp of Matt Blair. 2:14, and the Vikings will utilize a timeout, and there's an injury timeout now as Wilder is down at the 35-yard line. So when we return, there will be 2:12 left to go in regulation. The Bucs will punt the ball away. The Vikings have 3 timeouts left, and they trail by 3. Line of scrimmage, the 36-yard line of Tampa Bay. Frank Garcia, the outstanding rookie punter out of Arizona, back to kick it away. And Rufus Bess, number 21, would like to break it big right there for the Minnesota Vikings. They trail by 3. 2:12 left to go. 3 timeouts remaining. Good snap. Here come the Vikings. Good job by Garcia. Hits at the 42, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will kill it at about the 39-yard line. So not bad field position for the Minnesota Vikings. We've got 2:03 left to go as we approach that 2-minute warning. Situation remains unchanged. The Bucs by a field goal. Minnesota 2:03 and 3 timeouts left to work. There is a beautiful shot of Tampa Stadium, the site of Super Bowl 18, which you can see here on CBS Sports coming up next January. Right now, though, these two teams hoping for Super Bowl aspirations, locked in a 16-13 struggle. Darren Nelson has a convoy around the right side, tripped up at the 44-yard line on a great defensive play by Johnny Holden, his third year out of West Texas State.
They are trying to get Darren Nelson. This is just a spin around. They want to get him in the open field so he can use that great open field talent, that terrific speed and movement to try and pick up some big yardage.
We're at the 2-minute warning right now. Tampa Bay clinging to that 3-point lead. The Vikings trying to drive down to at least get into a tying field goal situation. Of course, they would like the touchdown, but Steve Dills, only 9 of 21, has had a long afternoon for Minnesota. Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to Tampa, Florida, where the Buccaneers have that 3-point lead against the Minnesota Vikings. There's our time remaining, 1:57, and Minnesota with just 2 timeouts with left on the timeout board right now. From the 43-yard line, it'll bring second down, 6 yards to go. Ground level shot from the left corner of the end zone, which is where Minnesota would like to be, and the Bucs would like to keep them from. Slot formation, now it's a flood formation to the left side. Lone setback. Teddy Brown in motion, top of your screen. Dills, bad ball. He's now 9 of 22. Darren Nelson was open at the 48, but he couldn't get it in there.
And only now do you realize how much Tommy Kramer means to the Minnesota Vikings. Steve Dills having a terrible afternoon. You have to wonder if it went through Bud Grant's mind whether Wade Wilson would have been a good idea.
Well, you know, since becoming a starter back in '79, Tommy Kramer has quarterbacked the Vikings to victories in the last 2 minutes of a football game on 9 different occasions. 10 of those 11 victories in the last 2 minutes with Kramer as quarterback came at home. The other was in San Diego. And in 10 of those, 7 of 10, the game was won on a Tommy Kramer touchdown pass. 3rd and 6. Dills. Ted Brown, but he has not got the first down. He is hammered down at the 47-yard line by Hugh Green. Ted Brown slow to get up. Now Tampa Bay had better, well, the Vikings had better take that time out. They've got to talk about it now. They need the first down. They really can't punt the football away.
This is simply basketball on the gridiron. Look for all the receivers out of the backfield. Hope Ted Brown gets deep enough to get the first down. Hit him. He did not get it in this instance, so they'll go for it. And you talk about Tommy Kramer. To me, he's the best 2-minute quarterback in the game now. Comparable to Roger Staubach, the way he used to do it for Dallas.
Let's check in around the NFL today and see what else is going on. The Cowboys now, after a 68-yard interception touchdown run by Dexter Klingsdale, have gone out in front of the Giants big. They lead by 15. That's late in the 4th quarter at Texas Stadium. Eagles are hanging on to a 10-3 lead at Mile High Stadium in Philadelphia. Jaworski touchdown pass to Mike Quick, a field goal by Tony Franklin. Denver trying to play catch-up, trailing by just 7 at home. John Elway, we're told, there is a big surprise to some out at the Kingdome in Seattle. Chuck Knox's home debut for the Seahawks. They lead Eric Coryell by 10 points.
2 big wins in a row. They beat the Jets last week, and now they beat 1 again this week.
The Vikings need 2 yards for the first down to keep the football. Otherwise, this game will go into the record books with a Tampa Bay victory. They've got to get to the 49. Dills will throw for it. Rifles it in. First down at the 47-yard line. Ricky Young looping out of the backfield.
And he did it with Dave Stahl's number 65 in his face. They had an in tackle game on the line. He was right in his face. Watch this. Look to the left of your screen. 65 comes unmolested. Still he gets it off.
Underneath, Ricky Young will get out of bounds and stop the clock at the 43-yard line. John Holt in pursuit, but a smart play call that time from the Minnesota bench.
And a good play by Ricky Young. Shows he's a veteran. 9 years out of Jackson State. He caught that ball. He went to the sidelines, so they did not have to waste the timeout.
16-13. Tampa Bay leading by 3. A 5-yard touchdown pass. Jack Thompson to James Wilder. Steve Dills has gone most of the way after Tommy Kramer left with an injured right knee. He will not be back. It is Steve Dills' ball game to win or to lose right now. Vikings with 1 timeout left. 43-yard line of Tampa Bay. Second down, 6 yards to go. Slot both left and right. Dills, 3-man rush. Underneath, Darren Nelson and Ted Brown. That's Ted Brown who can't hang on at the 40-yard line. Scott Brantley back there on the coverage. But, John, you really have to throw the football downfield at this point. They're going so much to the backs. Ricky Young, Darren Nelson, and Ted Brown. They've got to get the ball to Sammy White or to Leo Lewis or to Terry LeCount.
Good point, Jim, but it's more of a high-risk pass. Right now, I think Bud Grant is thinking field goal as well. Remember, a field goal will tie it, and that extra point that Capice missed early looms awful large at this moment.
But if your backs catch the ball over the middle, you've got to take your last time out. Slot formation to the left side. Dills now looking at the blitz. Bucks are coming. Hands the ball off, and the Bucks read it perfectly. Ted Brown is stacked up at midfield, and the Vikings quickly call their last time out. Hugh Green sniffed that play out. Got to question the play call on that one.
And just a sea of orange. Hugh Green, Leroy Selman, John Cannon, Dave Logan, Dave Stalls, all in on top. There was confusion here. Look at Dills looking around. He sees the blitz. He does not audible at the line. Tries to hand off the ball. Brown says, what, are you crazy? Don't give it to me now. No place to go.
Now you're looking at 4th down and 11 as Bud Grant and Steve Dills. Kind of an interesting reaction by Bud Grant over there.
The Iceman, so cool.
The NFL on CBS. The executive producer is Terry O'Neill. Senior producer Charles H. Milton III. Today's game produced by David Michaels. Directed by Joe Caroli. And the rest of the people who bring you the sights and sounds of NFL football here on CBS Sports. Our statistician up in the booth is Ray Mull, and our spotter is Billy Werndell. 1:06 left to go in this football game, and 1 play left for the Minnesota Vikings. They need 11 yards to keep this drive alive, otherwise the ball goes over on downs to Tampa Bay. They've got to get it down to about the 38-yard line. Flood formation over on the right side. Now, do you go for the first down or the touchdown? You've got to get the first down here, Doc.
You've got to throw it deep upfield. There's no question. It's 11 yards, 4th and about 11.
Here come the Bucks. Dills looks to the right sideline, fires over the middle, wide open. That is Terry LeCount. Terry LeCount to the 25, inside the 20, down to the 17-yard line. On 4th and 11, Steve Dills, with all kinds of composure, held his pride. The offensive line did the job, gave him the time, and Terry LeCount sprung free. No timeouts remaining. 31-yard pickup. 1st and 10 for Minnesota. Steve Dills, sideline right, throws it out of bounds, stops the clock in the general direction of Terry LeCount.
Defensive backs thinking deep, playing deep. Sammy White screened, cleared out for him. LeCount came underneath. They got the first down. And Dill smartly throws it out of bounds to stop the clock with 38 seconds. They're in field goal range, but boy, when you have a chance to win a game, you should try to take it in.
Well, what they've got to be very careful of here is any kind of an interception, because you're right. They are in Benny Ricardo field goal range. You're looking at a possible tying field goal. What you don't want to do is have any kind of a deflected pass, any kind of a turnover here to give the ball back over to Tampa Bay. So Steve Dills, slot to the left side, will be very careful on 2nd down and 10. They pitch it to Teddy Brown. Teddy Brown will try to get out of bounds and keep the clock stopped. He does at the 19-yard line. So Tampa Bay, John Holt strung it out and sniffed it out, and it'll bring up 3rd down now and long yardage, 3rd and 11 for the Vikings offense. So it's a big play time for Tampa Bay's defense. They've got to anticipate exactly what Bud Grant and his brain trust are thinking about on the sideline there.
And I sense that the play call might be different if Tommy Kramer were the quarterback. I can't see just giving it away. You have to go into the end zone and try to win the game. Be safe with it. Don't have it intercepted, but go for the win. You can always kick the field goal.
Well, we mentioned 10 of the Vikings' 11 victories in the last 2 minutes, spearheaded by Tommy Kramer. Coming at home, 7 of those 10 victories, the game won on a Tommy Kramer touchdown pass. Steve Dills, slot to the right side. Here comes Tampa Bay. Right corner, he throws it out of bounds. It is field goal time, and Benny Ricardo, the man of the moment for the Minnesota Vikings. Benny Ricardo came over from the New Orleans Saints. It's his 6th year in the National Football League. He's out of San Diego State, born in Paraguay. His longest field goal, 48 yards in 1978 against Tampa Bay. He did not kick at all last year. His longest field goal of this year against Cleveland in the opener from 38 yards. So Benny Ricardo can tie up this football game and send us potentially into overtime. It will be spotted down at the 28-yard line. It will equal his longest of the year. Snap is low. Spot is up. Kick is on its way. It is good. Benny Ricardo 38 yards and don't go away. We've got a 16-16 tie. The Buccaneers and the Vikings here at Tampa Stadium.
Bud Grant went for the tie, and he got it. He has new life.
29. Make that 24 seconds left to go in this football game. Minnesota out of timeouts. The Bucs with all 3 timeouts remaining.
Benny Ricardo was such an interesting story. He was released by the Raiders, and then he flew all night from L.A. to practice, arrived at 6 a.m., kicked at 8:45 on a tryout with the Vikings, kicked 39 straight, and now has just kicked the biggest field goal of his young Viking career to tie it here at Tampa Bay, 16-16.
The Minnesota Vikings went 42 yards in 11 plays to get that tying field goal, but the big play, as they were facing giving the ball back over to Tampa Bay on downs, a 31-yard scoring aerial. Well, it wasn't a scoring aerial, but it was a picture-perfect pass from Steve Dills to Terry LeCount to pick up that first down.
There's a scoring drive, 11 plays, 42 yards, the field goal 38 yards by Benny Ricardo. Ties the score.
He'll tee it from the 35. Squib kick. They don't want to give him a chance for a big run back. This is Michael Morton. Morton bounces off a couple of Vikings, and look out. Had he turned the corner at the 40, he would have broken it. Tom Hannon, 7th year out of Michigan State, finally scissor tackled that man, Michael Morton. Now you've got 15 seconds left to go. You've got Jack Thompson at the quarterback controls.
3 timeouts.
You don't want to turn the ball over by any means, but you want to work it down into Bill Capi's field goal range. That is Jack Thompson, the last member to join the Tampa Bay huddle. Capi's range, as you look at Denver tying their game up against Philadelphia.
Must be contagious around the NFL around this time of the day.
Eye pro set now. Wide receivers left and right for Thompson with 15 seconds left to go. He will go up top for all of it. Looking for Kevin House. Out of bounds at the 20. Now Thompson let go of that at the 30, so that went 50 yards in the air. That's a good play call. Very low percentage of interceptions on a pattern like that.
Now, even if it were intercepted, Tampa Bay offense would have to come and make the tackle. Minnesota Vikings have no timeouts left.
Bill Capice warming up into that net, hoping to get a chance to use that right toe. 9 ticks left to go on the clock. Otherwise, we've got sudden death. Michael Morton now, number 1, is in there at wide receiver. Now deployed as the tailback in the eye pro set. Andre Tyler to the near side. Michael Morton, and this will be the final play of regulation. So we've got sudden death here at Tampa Stadium. It is 16 all, and to recap how we got there, late in the 4th quarter, the throwing Samoan, Jack Thompson, a 5-yard scoring strike to James Wilder, looping out of the backfield, culminating an 80-yard drive, 13 plays. They used up 6.5 minutes on the clock. That gave the Buccaneers their only lead of this football game, 16-13. And then a 38-yard field goal with 24 seconds left to go by Benny Ricardo for the Minnesota Vikings, and we've got sudden death. We told you at the top of the telecast, this is the 11th meeting between the Vikings and the Buccaneers, with Minnesota holding a 7-3 advantage in the season, and the Vikings have won 5 of their last 6. Minnesota 4-1 here at Tampa, 3-2 against the Buccaneers back in Minnesota. The last Tampa Bay win was back in '81 when the Buccaneers beat the Vikings 21-13. The last time these two teams hooked up in the season opener a year ago. That actually was the first game, Doc, in the Metrodome in Minneapolis, won by the Vikings 17-10. In that game, Tommy Kramer.
Put in the air, please.
Here's the coin toss.
Heads is called.
Matt Blair. Oh.
There. They'll take the ball.
Look at Bud Grant. One of the few times you see him crack a smile.
More critical for Minnesota. Obviously, John McKay unhappy that he lost it. But more critical for Minnesota because Tampa Bay has one of the top defenses in the NFL.
When we come back, it'll be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kicking off to the Minnesota Vikings. We start sudden death, deadlock, 16 all. Jim Kelly and John Dockery, welcome back to Tampa Stadium here in Tampa, Florida. We've got sudden death overtime. The Minnesota Vikings and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Vikings struck quickly. They led 7-0 on an 8-yard scoring strike from Tommy Kramer to Terry LeCount as the Vikings went 64 yards in 11 plays and used up 6.5 minutes on their very first possession. Then after a John Turner interception, Tommy Kramer brought the Vikings back, and a field goal by Benny Ricardo from 28 yards. It was 10-0 Minnesota at the end of the first quarter. Early in the second quarter, after Tommy Kramer left with a knee injury, James Owens dove over from the 1-yard line. It brought the Bucs back to within 4, and then we updated that situation and how we got to 16 all. Capice booting to Darren Nelson. Nelson slithers across the 20 and gets down at the 21-yard line. So it'll be Steve Dills out of Stanford, who has had a long afternoon, but really, in fairness to Steve Dills, John, he threw the good ball when he had to, and I'm talking about that 31-yard first down strike to Terry LeCount.
And Steve Dills is 13 of 29 for 156 yards, and that's right. When they needed it, he got the first down, set him in field goal position to tie the game. Overtime.
There's what the Vikings have done in overtime. 3 wins, 2 losses, and 2 ties. Tampa Bay, 2 wins, no losses, and 1 tie. Slot formation to the right side. Sammy White inside, Terry LeCount outside. Running back to Ted Brown and Ricky Young. Ted Brown. Flag is down on the play, thrown by the back judge. Might be holding against Minnesota. Scott Brantley came in and really banged Teddy Brown down. You can see how slowly he is getting up. Preliminary call is against the Minnesota Vikings. You can't afford too many. That's Ted Brown. You can't afford any 10-yard penalties down in this territory the way that, with the exception of his last punt, Greg Coleman has been kicking, because you'd almost be in Capice field goal range early in the overtime. So now it's 1st and 20. Let's take a look. Watch the tackle by Scott Brantley and see if that's what happened when Brown goes down. Watch where the football is. Maybe he just had the wind knocked out.
It's hard to see what happened. The ball was underneath and could have knocked the wind out of him. He's struggling for that extra bit of yardage. Still down on the ground. Ted Brown, the man who has led the Vikings in rushing and receiving for the past 2 years. Certainly in overtime, you have to have a Teddy Brown. He is your key player, especially with Tommy Kramer out with an injury.
It is the season premiere of 60 Minutes. It will be seen in its entirety following football here on CBS. Then our great lineup of hits. Alice will check in and see what's going on at the Romano household, one day at a time. George Jefferson and company. Goodnight Beantown with Bill Bixby and Mariette Hartley and Trapper John M.D. A great lineup tonight here on CBS. Ted Brown this afternoon, and it has been a long afternoon because he has been a workhorse. 19 carries, 58 yards, 6 receptions for 54 yards. And he's going to get a bit of a rest. That means Tony Galbraith in his 8th year out of Missouri, cousin of Bake McBride, playing for the Cleveland Indians in baseball, will be in there now. 1st and 20. Steve Dills needs a first down desperately.
And Jim, Tony Galbraith, number 32, is excellent out of the backfield.
Tampa Bay defense digging in. Dills will throw on first down. Outlet pass. That is Tony Galbraith. Does not even get back to the line of scrimmage. So if the Vikings keep marching steadily backwards, by the time Greg Coleman punts, Bill Capice will be in field goal range. Jeff Davis and Mike Washington sniffed out that play. And again, John Dockery, I emphasize, I think that Dills has got to be throwing the football over the middle a little bit more, working over the corners and the safeties. The safety valve pass here, you got 2nd down and 24. You've got to move that football downfield.
You can't be frightened and play quarterback. Final score, Dallas over the Giants, 28-13.
That was a close football game. It was 14-13 Dallas, and the Giants were driving. Dexter Flinksdale returned a touchdown interception, 68 yards. It is 2nd and 24. Vikings in trouble.
My, oh my, the call, I don't understand it, Jim. Field position in overtime is so important. You win the toss, you get the ball, and look where you're going to give it up. And your punter, Greg Coleman, has been having a miserable afternoon.
Dave Logan, Scott Brantley, that was Tony Galbraith that got the call. The play being set in from Bud Grant on the far sideline. 13:30 left to go in overtime. 3rd and 21. you might as well throw the ball deep downfield and go for the first down and hope for a penalty. Even if it's a picked off, it's as good as a punt.
Very difficult situation.
Slot to the right side. LeCount is outside. Inside is Sammy White. Shotgun. Dills. Looks over the middle. Fires. Safety valve. Ted Brown is sandwiched at the 13.
He didn't even get himself, as you look at the Tampa Bay crowd, some room for the punter. Had he gotten 10 or 12 yards, at least the punter, Greg Coleman, would have had more room to maneuver, maybe get better field position. He's afraid to throw upfield or place him into the bench. Maybe it's not Steve Dills. Maybe it's Bud Grant and company.
It's 4th and 17, and Coleman, if he's got a good punt left in him, his last one was 50, but before that, 31, 29, and 19 yards for an average of 38 per kick for the 7 kicks. About to tee it off to Andre Tyler and Theo Bell, and they're waiting at midfield. Coleman gets away a good kick. Theo Bell at the 38. Looks for blockers, gets a couple, and is chopped down at the 47-yard line. There are no flags. A 47-yard kick, a 7-yard return, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will start 1st and 10 at their own 47-yard line. 12:20 left to go in this first sudden death overtime period. We are knotted up 16 all.
And what a moment for Jack Thompson taking over at quarterback for Jerry Goldstein. Hasn't started a game in the NFL since December 21st, 1980. Right now, he has a chance for a victory in overtime.
Wide receivers left and right. Tyler to the top of your screen. Carter to the near side. Jack Thompson will throw on 1st down underneath behind the intended receiver, James Owens. Back there on the coverage, number 55 for the Vikings, Scott Studwell, in his 7th year out of Illinois, but Owens was wide open.
When you get the feeling both quarterbacks anxious, they're antsy, they're not setting up and delivering the ball the way they should. A lot of pressure. Of course, Tampa Bay is 0-2 in their division. This game all important. To be 0-3 in your division this early in the season, it could be over early.
Tampa Bay losing 11-0 to the Lions, then 17-10 last week to the Chicago Bears. Wide receivers left and right. Jack Thompson, lone setback. Thompson underneath. Got his man, the tight end, Jim Obradovich, but he is shy of 1st down yardage by about a half a yard. It'll bring up 3rd and less than 1. John Turner in there in the coverage. But if Tampa Bay picks up this 1st down, they'll be inching ever so close into field goal range for Bill Capiz.
John McKay has gambled before. He's in 4-down territory. 3rd and 1. The last 2 times on 3rd and 1, they've gone to the big I and they've given it to Owens. He's found a hole. This time they were not in the I formation, but they have 2 tight ends.
Backs are split. They need less than a yard. Roll out. Thompson. He can run for it. He will run for it. 1st down, Tampa Bay inside the 40 of the Vikings. Matt Blair made the stop, but too little, too late.
And listen to that crowd. Jack Thompson told us he could run if he had a run, that the route that he couldn't scramble was an unfair one. Here he has all open field. He gets the 1st down and wisely slides into second base.
Good play call by John McKay and Tampa Bay, because you string out the secondary, the linebacking core of Minnesota. They've got to respect the passing ability. 1st down for the Buccaneers at the 39-yard line of Minnesota. If they get 10 more yards, they're in Capiz field goal range. Slot to the left side. I-pro set. Pitch back. James Owens. Convoy on the right side. Holt comes up and made a great tackle along with Rufus Best. Got him around the ankles down at about the 39. 2nd down and 10.
Jim Leonard trying to lead the convoy. Didn't get much, but remember, a field goal will win it in overtime. It's one of those situations you want to be careful, but you still have to move the ball to get it into field goal range.
Andre Tyler to the top of your screen. Theo Bell to the near side. Wilder, the lone setback now. 2nd down and 9. Tampa Bay. Viking defense trying to make something happen. Now Thompson will throw for it. Surprising call. Got his man at the 25. Theo Bell out of bounds. 1st down, Tampa Bay.
Boy, this is a gutsy call, and he delivers the ball. Sets up well. Theo Bell is on the out cut. Defensive back is way off, makes the catch for the 1st down.
Theo Bell, former Pittsburgh Steeler, free agent out of Arizona, 190-pounder, big call. And the composure of that man, Jack Thompson, starting his first game since the 21st of December back in 1980, Cincinnati against Cleveland. James Wilder, as the offensive line of Tampa Bay controls this sudden death period. Randy Holloway on the stop, but Tampa Bay continues to punish the defensive front four of the Minnesota Vikings, driving down into Bill Capi's field goal range.
Good blocking by the offensive line. Wilder wants it. You get a feeling this man is durable. He started every game for the last 2 years. He senses victory. And Jack Thompson, what a moment for he and John McKay. Thompson in Cincinnati said, all I wanted is a chance to be an NFL quarterback. I can play. He wasn't going to get it in Cincinnati. He came here. And he's gotten his chance.
Second down and 3. I-pro set again for the Buccaneers. Watch the offensive line surge. Jimmy Owens, loose football. Tampa Bay got it back. First down for the Buccaneers. We keep saying they're marching down into Bill Capi's field goal range. They're marching down into the end zone.
Exactly right. A touchdown is a sure thing. A field goal has a certain amount of risk attached to it. So if you can get the touchdown, do it and win the game.
Giles and Obradovich, double tight end in there for Tampa Bay from the 15. Long count. Wilder stacked up behind the line of scrimmage. Defensive penetration by Freddie McNeil, 54, the 10-year veteran out of UCLA. And Jack Thompson now wants to talk things over. He has called a timeout, and he will go over on the near sideline and confer with that man, John McKay.
John McKay, coming into the game, said the Minnesota Vikings would be angry after losing to the San Francisco 49ers. Wasn't sure about the mood of his team. He said, we should be. And then there was a long pause. I don't know whether we are.
Welcome to Tampa Stadium, the site of Super Bowl 18, which you'll see here on CBS. I'm Jim Kelly along with John Dockery. We've got overtime, the Vikings and Tampa Bay. It's second down and 10 for Tampa Bay. Inside handoff. James Wilder stacked up, maybe fights back to the line of scrimmage. The Minnesota Vikings led early, 7-0, an 8-yard scoring strike from Tommy Kramer to Terry LeCount. As he went 64 yards, 11 plays. They used up 11.5 minutes on the clock, and then a field goal by Benny Ricardo made it 10-0 Minnesota. But then the Vikings lost Tommy Kramer out with a knee injury. Steve Dills has gone the rest of the way. Tampa Bay winless, 0-2 coming in after successive losses to the Lions and the Chicago Bears. Fought back. They closed to within 7 by the half. Then it was 13-9 on the strength of a Bill Capice 40-yard field goal. Then a 5-yard scoring strike from Jack Thompson, who is starting his first game for Tampa Bay, to James Wilder out of the backfield, put Tampa Bay in front 16-13. Finally, a 38-yard field goal by Benny Ricardo with 29 seconds left in regulation, and that's how we got to be 16-all. The applause now for Bill Capice, the field goal kicker for Tampa Bay, coming out and trying to give the Buccaneers their first win of the year. Andre Tyler, number 81, will hold. Bill Capice, 1 for 3 in the field goal department so far this year, coming into this game. And there's what he has done so far this afternoon, the man of the moment.
Bill, he missed an extra point, Jim, early. He missed a field goal. His holder is Andre Tyler. Minnesota's calling it. His holder is Andre Tyler. Bob Yuko, the regular holder, is out. There have been problems on snap. Even on the field goal he kicked, the snap was bad. So it's not automatic.
Keep your eye, of course, on number 59, the 10-year veteran out of Iowa State for the Minnesota Vikings, Matt Blair, who has 20 block kicks in his career. And that's what the Vikings will have to do now to Bill Capice.
Number 59, Matt Blair, 3 field goal blocks, 16 extra points blocked. He's 6'5". He has a knack for it.
Vikings, of course, calling timeout, allowing Capice some time to think about it. He's checking the wind, checking about everything else out there. The Vikings came in having beaten the Cleveland Browns 27-21, and then coming off one of their more humiliating losses, 48-17, 10 days ago to the San Francisco 49ers. And there's where we are right now. Interesting, coming into the action around the NFL today, of the 28 games played previously, the visiting team had won 22 of those games. The home team had only won 6 times. And of course, we had 5 undefeated teams going into action around the NFL today, but the Rams were defeated. Their first loss with 1 second left on the clock, a field goal sent them down 27-24. Cowboys have won. They stay undefeated. Here we go. Tied 16-all. Tyler will spot it down at the 23, plus the 10 of the end zone, a 33-yard try. The crowd will tell you. Bill Capice. Wide to the left side. The Vikings defense has held. Capice is down at the 25, but no flags are down. And we stay in sudden death overtime with 7:34 left to go. The Vikings get another chance.
And Capice so agitated earlier in the game when he missed that extra point, we wouldn't have overtime. And here again, he just misses the kick.
So the Vikings now are able to capitalize on a missed extra point and 2 missed field goals by Bill Capice. But in fairness to Bill, the missed extra point was the fault of the holder because the ball sailed through. Another look from the end zone.
You see 59, Matt Blair jumping up in front. He just pulls it to the left.
Let's take another look. I think Matt Blair got a piece of that ball.
The ball is down. He spins the laces away from the kicker the way you're supposed to. Capice knows he missed it.
1st and 10, Minnesota Vikings. 16-16. Wide receivers left and right. Now a slot formation to the right side. Back with Ted Brown and Ricky Young. Steve Dills at quarterback. Gives it the pump fake. Now goes up top. Looks long. Got his man out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Terry LeCount. And a penalty flag is down. Let's check the call. Dick Jorgensen, the referee. Interesting that Steve Dills does not go deep most of the game, and on the first play after they get it back, interference against Tampa Bay. Big break for the Vikings. You know, you never can tell what's on Bud Grant's mind. He changes his expression so seldom over on the sideline, and even last night when we had a chance to...
Illegal contact, defense, first down.
Even last night when we talked with that man, Bud Grant, about the emotion, and we asked him about coming off the San Francisco loss, he said, you can't live on emotion all week long. There simply is no dwelling on a team that I coach.
Well, Bud Grant's the kind of man that does not want those peaks and valleys. He wants a team that's on an even keel. He'll win more games that way.
The season premiere of 60 Minutes, you'll see it in its entirety following football here on CBS. Motion from Sammy White to the top of your screen. They've got the end around. Terry LeCount will throw. Now he gives it the pump fake. Fires.
Got a lineman downfield, though. Let's see if they
at the 39-yard line. That is Sammy White. He was the man that was originally in motion. Now, did he trap the football? They say he trapped it at the 39.
Steve Riley, number 78, was about 5 yards downfield. I don't know whether you'll be able to see it. Here, a little razzle-dazzle. The Vikings digging into their bag of tricks. LeCount runs the reverse very well. Here, he fakes, pumps again. Ball was trapped. That's Sammy White.
2nd down and 10. 7:18 left to go in this overtime session. The Bucs and the Vikings deadlocked at 16. Slot formation to the right side. The backs, Ricky Young and Ted Brown. Steve Dills fires underneath. He's got Ricky Young. Ricky Young in midfield. Ricky Young down to the 40. Ricky Young to the 30 and out of bounds at the 28-yard line. Cedric Brown chased him out of bounds. 1st down, Minnesota.
That was all Ricky Young. This is something the Minnesota Vikings do so well. Back out of the backfield. Young just catches the ball. Good fake right here. Runs away from number 34, Cedric Brown. Seems to be slowing up a little bit, but a big game for Minnesota Vikings. They are actually in field goal range to win it at this moment. Ricky Young, 5 receptions, 85 yards.
Looping out of the backfield in his 9th year out of Jackson State, number 34, Ricky Young. First and 10 for the Vikings at the 27 of Tampa Bay. LeCount and White wide to the right side. Inside handoff. Busting through to the 25 goes Teddy Brown out of North Carolina State. Andy Hawkins, 4-year linebacker out of Texas A&I, came up and made the tackle secure.
And my, how quickly the tide can turn. Tampa Bay moments ago with a chance to win it. Capice misses the field goal. Now Ricky Young out of the backfield. The Minnesota Vikings have the ball on the 24-yard line with a chance to win it in overtime.
You know, going back to the emotion of the sometimes allegedly emotionless Bud Grant, he said any football game is like a street fight. You've got to be ready week after week. Otherwise, you're going to have your helmets handed to you. 2nd and 7 for the Vikings at the 24 of Tampa Bay. White to the right side. LeCount, top of your screen. Teddy Brown looks for a block, does not get it. Excellent penetration that time by all-world, all-everything Leroy Selman and Hugh Green.
Remember, in regular time, Bud Grant opted to run the ball on the ground and let Benny Ricardo kick a 38-yard field goal to tie the score 16-16. He's doing the same thing right now. He's sending in Benny Ricardo on 3rd down to try a field goal.
Well, you know what they did on that last play with Teddy Brown is simply get it to the far hash mark, John Dockery. So now even on 3rd down and 7, Bud Grant says it's time to win this football game, or at least to try to. Steve Dills, number 12, will hold. They will spot it down at the 32. Benny Ricardo. And now, timeout, Dick Jorgensen, the referee. Timeout, Minnesota. Steve Dills saw something when he knelt down he didn't like and wanted to confer with Bud Grant.
Now, trying a field goal on 3rd down, if something goes wrong, if it's a bad snap, if it's blocked and you recover, you still have another option on 4th down. That's Bud Grant's thinking at this moment.
There is Benny Ricardo, staring up at those goalposts that must look about 50 yards away right now.
And for a journeyman in the NFL, a chance to win it in overtime. He was with Buffalo, Detroit, New Orleans, a short stay with the Raiders, cut this year, now with the Vikings, and a chance to win it in overtime.
Out of San Diego State, Benny Ricardo. There is Steve Dills out of Stanford. Of course, the premier player out of Stanford is number 20, Darren Nelson, the number 1 draft pick last year, who's back. And as we talked to him at the hotel last night, he's very enthused about his sophomore season. He said he feels that he fits into the picture quite well. And when we asked him about that San Francisco game, he gave us that little infectious grin, and he said, what game? So the Vikings have put that loss to the 49ers behind them.
And right now they have a chance to win it. And John McKay is probably wondering, what do I have to do to win a game? I'm 0-2 in my division. Okay, I could be 0-3 in a moment, but this kick is good.
From the 32-yard line, Steve Dills tack on the 10 of the end zone, and it'll be a 42-yard try for Benny Ricardo. The crowd will tell you it's a fake field goal. Dills fires underneath. The ball's batted loose. Incomplete at the 35-yard line and almost intercepted. What a call by Bud Grant. They go for the fake field goal, and then the ball was almost intercepted by Thomas Morris, second-year backup cornerback out of Michigan State. So the Vikings will get one more try. Take a look.
A little razzle-dazzle, pulling all of the stops out. Steve Dills looking, look at this, incomplete, almost interception, but it's still 4th down.
Andy Hawkins, 59, the man who made the play. He batted the ball loose, so we'll do it again. Same spot, far hash mark. Steve Dills, snap, spot, kick. Is good.
Look at the entire team.
From 42 yards out, Benny Ricardo has won it for the Minnesota Vikings, 19-16. In overtime, a dramatic win after a fake field goal try on 3rd down. Benny Ricardo kicks it from 42 on 4th down. Now for an update of all the action around the NFL today, let's go back to NFL Control in New York and our host, Brent Musburger, after this message.
And so ends the most dramatic day of this young season so far. And, of course, immediately following our quick-scoring wrap-up, you will see the season premiere of 60 Minutes in its entirety. Except out on the West Coast, you will see it broadcast at its regular time. We had 2 games go into overtime today. The New Orleans Saints down the Chicago Bears. 34-31 was the final in that one. The Buffalo Bills are now 2-1, 28-23 over the Baltimore Colts and Frank Kush. The Washington Redskins had to come from behind, and they beat Kansas City 27-12 in the second half. San Francisco got an explosive performance from Joe Montana, 3 touchdown passes, 42-27 over the St. Louis Cardinals. The 49ers are now on a four-way tie for first in the NFC West. The Pittsburgh Steelers roll again. They down Houston today 40-28. The Oilers now have lost for the 10th straight time. Atlanta over Detroit 30-14 for the Falcons, their first win ever in Detroit. And New England with the upset of the day over the New York Jets 23-13. Tony Collins rushes for more than 200 yards in that game. The Green Bay Packers, with time running out in the fourth quarter, a field goal by Jan Stenerud. They beat the Los Angeles Rams 27-24. And Philadelphia over Denver 13-10 was the final there. Tony Franklin wins it with time running out in that game. And Seattle hangs on. They down San Diego 34-31, and next week on our CBS doubleheader, many of you will see the Washington Redskins out in Seattle against the Seahawks. Minnesota, Tampa Bay, what can I add to that dramatic finish? 19-16 for the Vikings, a win there. And finally, the Dallas Cowboys over the New York Giants 28-13, and that no-nonsense policy of Tom Landry is paying off. The Cowboys remain unbeaten after 3 weeks. Finally, quickly in Major League Baseball, Montreal this afternoon down Pittsburgh 5-2. A costly loss for the Pirates because the Phillies downed the Cardinals. And now a look at the National League East shows that the Phillies lead the Pirates by a game. Montreal has fallen 2.5 back. In the America's Cup, Australia, too, has won for the first time, downing Liberty easily. But Liberty, the United States yacht, still leads that best-of-7 series 2-1. They will go again tomorrow. And a reminder that next Saturday, 3:30 Eastern Time on CBS, our regional NCAA action will be headlined by Ohio State and Iowa. And then at 9 p.m. next Saturday night, you will see the confrontation between the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame and the Miami Hurricanes. And another reminder that coming up next, the season premiere of 60 Minutes.